Well, happy belated July 4th for those celebrating in North America. And it was party time all around if you've been watching the ALGS. We just kicked things off with fireworks in EMEA, and now it's time for North America's turn. The last day that Group A will play. And of course, that means the last time you'll see Falcons before the regional finals. All of this, so much on the line, and more Apex, of course, coming your way. My name is Rain Day, and I'll be your host today alongside two brilliant other casters for this match day 8. So let's go ahead and introduce them as well. First off, we got Tiff back in the building. We started strong in EMEA. It's now time for NA's turn.
Hey, let's do it. Honestly, you said it all right. Group A, it is the last chance to determine if you can make it into the regional finals. So the teams that we need to see step up, I'm looking at Oxygen, yup, Elevate. Let's see if you can do what EMEA did earlier.
Well, another person who's joining us as well. She missed the first couple of games. Wasn't her fault, though, by the end of the day. It's July 4th. It's Miami traffic. I mean, we're just happy she got here in one piece. Vicky Kitty back here, starting off strong in North America. We're so excited to have you.
Listen, when I got the Play Apex call to sit up here with you, Rain Day, and Tiff, I would not have missed it for anything. Happy to be on this broadcast with you guys, to be going through North America, because like you guys already highlighted, time is of the essence. Our last match day for Group A to really put on some points.
You're actually giving me an idea of, you know, an Apex kind of bat logo in the sky. Yes. If we ever need you, the logo is there. I'll always be watching. Vicky, our Batgirl today for sure. And it just goes to show that when you look at what's happening here, ALGS always has fun things in store, whether it's being on a broadcast online or being in person. And in fact, if you want to join us in person, we have just revealed the location for the Split 2 playoffs happening soon. Check it out. Mannheim, Germany is the place to be. Coming up later in August into September, we will be there live with our Split 2 playoffs, and you do not want to miss it. To keep an eye on tickets, which will go on sale soon, make sure you're following our socials at Play Apex Esports on X, twitch.tv/Play Apex for the broadcast here, and over on YouTube at Play Apex Esports as well. Just bringing it back into it, LAN is always fun. Tiff, it's a special thing to be able to gather as a community together. You really don't want to miss those opportunities if you have the ability to go.
Exactly. And I was kind of talking about it earlier on the EMEA broadcast. It's so nice to be going back to Europe, to be so easily accessible from a lot of the players and fans that are going to be in that area. I know we're going to bring someone in at the halftime that has a pretty close proximity. So it's nice to see that and give people the chance to get in the building and experience a LAN firsthand.
Certainly true. And one of the things that, you know, leading into this is when we talk about the story of the ALGS, sure, it's match day 8, last day for Group A. We have these small themes, then we have big themes. And really the LAN is where these big themes happen. Who won? The Dark Zero versus TSM, the comebacks, and now this new phase in year 4, which is the new kings on the block. Well, something very interesting happened about that new king. Our LAN winner, Reject Vanity, had some very interesting tweets this week that kind of shocked us all. Let me paraphrase what went down. They announced that after winning their Split 1 LAN, shocking the world and forcing this super team, which we'll see soon, Falcons, to get together to try to tackle them, that Oblivion and Sang June from that team would now go to Crazy Raccoon. They added a new third from Crazy Raccoon, and so while you might be surprised that that would happen after a win, it did. Now Crazy Raccoon still in contention. They swapped Dogma and Junghee over to Reject Winity, but Crazy Raccoon and APAC North, they were getting ready for their regional finals, which happened last night. It went to an insane 16 games. But what's even more interesting is Crazy Raccoon was not guaranteed a spot in the LAN unless they did well. Well, Tiff, let's break down how that final circle went, because ultimately it would change the expectations for Split 2?
Yeah, it was so wild. We talk about breaking records, and all of that is APAC North's regional finals. The previous match length that we had seen in a regional finals was 13. And when I woke up this morning, we were sitting on game 11, and this team on your screen had everything to gain when it came to these regional finals, right? Fnatic pretty much locks it in via the points, and granted, they've changed around, but when it came to this building outside of Cascades, not only was it the diverse legend compositions that we get from APAC North, I mean, you can see there's the Gibby there, you've still got the Pathfinder that's been the niche pick, so you bubble forward for Fnatic, but in comes the gravity lift from the team that goes on to win. I'm looking at Striders, right? They pop the grav lift, they get out of dodge in terms of all the resources that are coming out for that endgame. They drop down, they clean up Funny Loco, and with this win that Striders gets, being on match point eligibility, they evict Crazy Raccoon out of the top 9. They will not be going on. Oblivion and Songjun do not go to Split 2 playoffs to defend their LAN championship, which is quite possibly one of the biggest heartbreaks I've seen in a minute.
It's not only, I mean, the biggest heartbreak, it's like, it's kind of hard to put into perspective. This may be the first it's ever happened where we've seen a LAN champion not make it to the next LAN to defend their title. And that also means that Team Falcons are pretty happy. EMEA seems pretty happy as well. APAC North and Reject Vanity, I'll say it, they were phenomenal at LAN. That will no longer be a threat. Who will take their spots? We're going to find out here. APAC North already has their 9. I believe it's 9, but also APAC South looking to add a few more alongside Legends Gaming. Leave No Witness and BR Demon from South America. That just happened, and they just qualified. And Shadow, and of course SSE X-Ray will be making it from China. One of the interesting elements of this too is nobody in EMEA and no one in North America has qualified yet, Vicky, and that just shows you how tight it is. Besides Falcons, of course, and the race is still going on. It's the last chance for Group A, but for a lot of people, this is a chance to really step up and separate yourself from the pack, which so far has been very difficult to do.
Well, when you're a God Squad out here from Team Falcons and you're sponging up all the points, that's what makes the rest of these qualifying teams interesting at what is left up for grabs here. As we take a look at the action that we have waiting for us on the other side, that's not all we're going to hear from Team Falcons. Sure, they're the only qualified team here in North America, but leave some for the rest of us, Rain Day.
I mean, it's pretty insane. This gap right now, well, you know, they intended to set records. They shook the world by storm when they combined. They're certainly following it up. And, you know, I honestly don't think, Tiff, there's any other way they could have done it, because making a team like this, leaving the legacies of Dark Zero and TSM behind, you better be hoping that you get the results. And so far, they have definitely gotten that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I say. I remember, I think my last time on the broadcast was like match day number 2, and I was like, well, thank God they are out here performing as the super team, because it would be kind of embarrassing if they fell apart, I'm not gonna lie. But as you jump down to maybe like back half of this, from the 11th to 20th place, it's those teams on the fringe that are in Group A that I'm most worried about, that I shouted out, and I was like, we need to make sure that you do everything you can to get into that regional final. Teams like Oxygen Esports, Elevate, and even Yup, who are just on the outskirts of the top 20, Vicky. It is do or die for them today.
It's so scary to consider the other half, the last 10 teams in this overall standings, especially after a performance that we saw from Yup, the other Pro League day that we had for North America. Now they are one of the teams sitting on the cusp with 38 points, neighboring that of Elevate. Right behind them, Tempr with 34 points here, but it is so tight, because even looking all the way down to most hated, right? Let's say they have an insane pop-off day. Can you imagine how this is going to shake up the overall standings for the day?
So interesting to look at. You've got a little bit of the tone set. You've got the stakes. Now let's zero in on the teams who will be playing today. Group A, it's their last shot as well. Obviously, some big names there, including Falcons, but also some CC love. We'll have to be giving that out a little bit. And Group C, obviously they play tomorrow as well, so they've got a little more wiggle room. But, you know, Liquid Alienware teams that we look at as contenders for LANs, obviously going to want to continue working and getting the job done there. Of course, when it comes to getting to a LAN, we see the magic number. Tiff, it's usually about 80 something. I think we got exact numbers on this one as well. And it's also important for teams who can't qualify for LAN just to try to see if they can get in that regional final and have a chance to win match point.
Yeah, it was 84.7 over in EMEA, and it's probably sitting closer somewhere to 82 here in North America. For Split 2 playoffs last year, it was 82 points. That was the threshold that basically said Meat was on the outside looking in. For Split 1 playoffs this year, it was right at 80 points. For 12th place, to be the cutoff, FACEIT was the one looking from the outside in 13th place. So you never want to be the one that is literally almost there, because we need to find who our teams are that are going to be heading on to Germany for Group A. Like we've said, it's your last chance. Group B, well, you know, that's going to be tomorrow, and don't let it come down to the regional finals. Anything can happen there, and it's scary.
One of the people who are so, one of the people in this industry of ours, our esports industry, that maybe sometimes gets overlooked are these tournament organizers, right? And Oversight Esports, they gave me an opportunity to compete in actually a tournament, and it was insane to see the level of even good pros, just quality pros, get IGL'd by some people like Dropped and Zainu. It was amazing the skill that is out there in the Apex Legends ecosystem. And what's amazing is we keep discovering new teams through the challenger circuit who make big strides in showcasing to the world that the greatest player, the greatest team might be a team you haven't heard of yet. So let's highlight a couple of our challenger circuit squads that have done well up until this point and have a fighting chance to make it to LAN. I mean, you just look at the stories, MVP in EMEA, Atenum, who's his first split in Pro League, and you can see these things starting to be real, Vicky. People actually achieving their dreams in esports. It's no different in North America, from Board, Pioneers, Weave, NGNL, Esports, so many great stories and great players that have helped shape our league.
Even with the familiar names that we see from KCP, former tripods on their journey, sitting in 10th overall, coming from the Split 2 qualifiers, all these teams, we've been able to highlight their journey, who have been making their way from Challenger Circuit and then showcasing that new wave of talent coming into the Pro League to match up against the old guard. And it shows to everybody watching at home, if you think you have what it takes to compete against these pros in this lobby, well, show up at the Challenger Circuit. That's the best way to start your journey to be a Pro League player yourself.
I think it's July 20th to 22nd, and registration closes on like July 17th. I'm pretty sure I remember that from the earlier graphics. So stay tuned for that. And yes, your journey in the ALGS could just be beginning this month. Okay, let's talk, Tiff, about another team that's been pretty impressive here. They go by the name of Yup. Walk me through how this team is performing and why they're somebody we felt the need to highlight today.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to keep your eyes on, not only because you think about the roster being Prodigy Aces, Dupe, Oblivion. This is a really nice trio, but in match day number 7, they came out swinging. Just similar to FA Kids over in EMEA on their prior match day, Yup finally got things moving. Granted, they were so close to the bottom of the leaderboard in terms of North America, but after getting this match day win with 2 wins under their belt for that series, it shot them up into potential qualification into the regional finals, which if they go there, they compete and they do well again, you never know. We could see one of the greatest comebacks in history in terms of the ALGS to get them to Germany. But you just kind of see the way they break things down, and yeah, you're just hip firing the hemlock through the smoke, whatever it is, it's working. 20 eliminations on World's Edge, 8 on Storm Point. So I'm curious to see if we can kind of shore up the differences and be consistent on Storm Point as much as we are on World's Edge. But you can see match number 2, 8 eliminations and a win. Match 6, 8 eliminations and a win. And that kind of allows you to bide that consistency overall through the series. And it's just really good to see them kind of setting that straight. And who knows, maybe they carry on the momentum today.
You cannot, forget about Dupe. I mean, obviously that Optic roster that we thought was, going to be able to do some things, almost actually did some things at LAN, but they split up. They've been going their own ways. Dupe kind of had to fight his way back into more of the spotlight. This is a great moment, though, for him. And obviously at LAN, people yelling Dupe. It's kind of like our Cristiano Ronaldo Sue thing. So, we get a little bit of fun when Dupe is around, and we appreciate that for sure. So good luck to them, and good luck to you. If you want to watch their journey, well, here's the thing. You've got the opportunity to, because whether you're watching on our main broadcast, where we'll give you different things like voice comms and more storyline narratives, if you want a more personalized experience, you can go to FACEIT Watch. This allows you to follow along with specific teams, and I'm sure many of you have done this already, or maybe doing it right now, setting it up so that you can be there for every rotation, every comm, and every big game win. Check out FACEIT Watch as well to watch it and have control. The ALGS is always fun. So many different stories. Today will be no different. We are about to get into a games. Are about to get ready. The players are loading up. And guess what? That means match day 8 is about to begin. So Tiff, Vicky, let's get it started.
Ooh, I'm excited. Vicky, we were talking about it earlier. I was like, thank you so much for getting on here and joining me on the mic. It's been what, like a year and a half, 2 years since we got to cast together? It's been a while.
50 years, but it's time. It's time to rendezvous, Tiffany. What better way to kick off you and I casting together than a day where there's a lot of stakes on the line? We've highlighted them already. I like how we highlighted Yup. You talking about the most important part about Yup after having a crazy match day for themselves. Better late than never, I always say, when it comes to showing up, because talking about the individual players, Dupe being on that team, he was the best Gibby when Gibby, Caustic, Valkyrie were in the meta. Yes, I am throwing you guys back for a ride. If you guys remember that composition meta back in the day in the ALGS, that's where Dupe really showed up. And now transitioning to adapt around the very interesting legend compositions that we've witnessed across all regions, well, we got to start off on Storm Point for our first 3 games, and looking at the draft pick that we currently have for today, Tiff.
Yeah, we need to throw it down immediately. So many of our teams went for World's Edge POIs in the first pickup. So Pioneers, they decided, no, we're going to start things off on Storm Point. They grabbed the Mill, which is a POI that they're very familiar with. And then you see Cedo going next, Echo, Lightning Rod for the Falcons. But yup, they grabbed Zeus Station. Now you think back to that match day 7 where they found those 2 wins. They were coming in from Zeus Station on Storm Point and Tree on World's Edge. So obviously they were enjoying those rotations from Zeus. They went ahead to run it right back.
Yeah, and also the fact that you have that big jump tower that's right there too, so that way you can cover a good amount of distance depending on where some of these circle pools have been showing up on Storm Point. And then looking on the other side here for our last squads here, gonna be C9 landing over by Launchpad, Cascade over for Tempr, as well as FURIA coming over here by the wall. But it's nice to see how some of these teams have opted to prioritize their POI draft pick for Storm Point versus World's Edge and vice versa, playing into their individual strengths.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at Storm Point and I look at the POIs that have had the most wins, there's been 3 just from Devastated Coast, and NRG is going to go ahead and wrap that up as their pick. SSG and Stormcatcher, I don't hate it. We had that Stormcatcher zone earlier today in EMEA, and things got absolutely brutal. So being able to take precedence to a rotate if that zone does make a play here in North America. We also saw Lions take Trident in EMEA, and they ran into some issues with their rotation, specifically when it went south. So hopefully for DSG, they can kind of get ahead of that, but who knows? We've had such a variance when it comes to Storm Point on the zones today that anything can happen, Vicky. Anything.
It's so crazy. You know what? I'm talking about anything. I'm getting word that Q0 is out on Disguise for today. So with some changes landing over by Trident, we got to see what Disguise is cooking up here too. Jumping into game number 1. We highlighted them earlier on, talking about Yup, and we get to see just as what we witnessed in EMEA Tiff, the Seer, the Catalyst making its way into the meta in North America.
Yeah, I mean, mean, yeah, it's here. It's here. And this is different, right? Because you think about Yup's performance from match day 7, they were actually on Stormpoint running Watson Bang Blood. So this is a massive change up for them. They brought in the catalyst when it came to Stormpoint, and that's dupe, right? So keeping that role the same, it makes sense. But Bang, Seer, we're swapping out the blood for Seer, and it makes sense given all the changes that just dropped. I'm just not used to seeing exhibits everywhere.
It's beautiful though. They're like fireworks of their own here. I guess it's very fitting if we're going to be able to see that more in North America. Now, considering the fact where this circle is going to be pulling and how we highlighted Disguise landing over by Trident, they also, by the way, had an Evil Harvester, so that's always nice to see. But the circle is potentially pulling by the choke of Northpad and Checkpoint, because, Tiff, we've seen a very similar circle to this, where a lot of teams, they bank on Checkpoint rotates, maybe much more safer rotate coming out of the down B side if you're looking at Vanity, but I'm also focusing on how much information is available in the northwestern part of that map. You saw the ring console, you saw the survey beacon over by Checkpoint. It looked like Northpad had a ring console themselves, and then down beast with another ring console. So many teams wanting to get that information are going to be finding themselves rotating maybe on the west side of that circle.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities to grab those ring consoles. And if you're Oblivion, well, you just need blue shields to hit that level 2 perk upgrade for Fuse to get Ringmaster and have access to those. So you're already seeing that their pathing will include that next Evo cache, which will be enough to go ahead and get access to it. So all the comms coming through that are accurate. Cascade Falls even had access to a ring console. But a lot of our teams are hitting the move so quickly. Anytime it goes to North, and even maybe Checkpoint, well, to be fair, Vicky, the majority of our zones don't actually go Checkpoint itself unless they go to the buildings in the south, but I'd be curious to see how that one rolls.
We've seen it before, and I actually believe that may have been a game where we saw board really pop off, but we have to see now with FURIA already going to be able to take an aggressive angle and get the survey beacon, also extra Evo shield charge for themselves. But seeing that looks like to be their pathing right now. You see them pinging the next Evo Harvester while also noting that CCE are right in front of them. So immediately takes that zip line and gets out of the fray.
Yeah, you got to get through that choke. You do not want to find any resistance early on, but we did see Keon is playing today, so good shout to him. I heard he had his power go out and had to drive like 30 minutes to redo his setup elsewhere, so happy to see him still be able to lock it in here for FURIA. For Flat, in the meantime, yes, we've moved into a viable position, but sometimes when you get into kind of those areas, the donut gazebos, I just don't feel very safe on them early on, but a team that's on the fringe, Elevate on your screen, Slayer trying to back away and maybe find a reposition. Sack with the swing, wants that angle, but there goes that exhibit we're talking about. It's always there.
The shiny beacon to let everybody know who's fighting right now, but Elevate and having Zach on this Fuse though, look at the amount of damage output, but specifically the space he's elevating for Slayer and Luxford to actually get enabled into a better position. I love the aggression that we're currently seeing from Zach Mazer holding it off angle, and I love the follow-up here too. Oxygen, get deleted on your screen. What a quick fight, and Elevate already at the very beginning of getting that free KP.
Yeah, but with Oxygen Esports being the first team out, this is another team that we highlighted in the fringe from Group A. This is their last chance to make a play to secure themselves a slot in that regional finals for the hopes of making it to Mannheim, Germany. But Elevate do need every elimination because they're sitting in the same boat. But I do love the way that with the Fuse, you can kind of take angles and make space between the knuckle clusters, and the majority of our Fuse players in the lobby stacking 12 grenades with ease. It just makes for some chaos.
It's the legend comp diversity is insane. Are you guys looking at this at the top of your screen? That is, your eyes are not deceiving you. There is one Gibraltar in the lobby, and it is not Tube. It is actually RKN from Native. And you gotta respect your elders for a reason out here, Tiff. It looks like Native Gaming may be cooking up something that we weren't expecting right now. Tempr in a lot of trouble. They get eliminated, and Most Hated now currently as a duo looking to reset where things are getting heated very quick for these squads on their quick rotate.
Yeah, this is a team that's 9 points coming into this outside of that 20th position to play in regional finals. So I would really love to see a solid showing out of them, knowing that this is their final match day to be played. You have everything to gain and technically also to lose. But for FURIA, making their play out of Checkpoint, gonna find that information. And Liquid Alienware is also here. The Rolling Thunder is going to push them just further back outside of the main area of checkpoint. But once you lose that high ground and someone starts to take angles on you, it can be really detrimental.
Highlighting Liquid Alienware sitting in 6th in the overall standings right now. This is a team that we know takes a little bit of time to ramp up, but once that momentum is there, they absolutely go crazy right now. With Hagwadis being on the fuse, the Pathfinder now being a lot more common to see here, being able to get that ring console scan alongside your fuse as well as a survey beacon. You go hand in hand with who you want to rotate through, but playing off this slight low ground, you can see that they have the information on where the circle is going to be pulling. Do you want to take this fight or do you want to coexist on this platform is the question.
This is the last place I want to coexist, low-key. Checkpoint collapses at the end game go absolutely wrong. For the majority of our teams, they're going to be looking to play for that third ring console scan to give them that final information. Do we need to commit to Northpad? Do we commit to checkpoint? The majority of our squads have elected to go to Northpad or rotate in from down Beast, which if you're Kansas City Pioneers, knowing that that's where you start out on Stormpoint, you are living life good. But if I'm Furia, I want to go ahead and hit it. You've secured it off. You've got the bang smoke coming in from Vaxon. Let's see where we're headed.
Wow, getting the information and the fact that Team Liquid, they're in that next circle. They actually are directly in the middle of the choke between checkpoint into downed Beast. This is gonna be crazy for the teams that are expecting the DBZ buildings over to the north and these buildings right here on the outskirts of Northpad as Riley literally won, popping that shield bat, losing out on Carter.
Ooh, okay. I was gonna say that's some good damage throwing down there, but Riley peeks through the doorway and Phony just opens it up. SSG are really working this fight to their advantage. They're taking minimal damage and just suppressing Weave to the best of their ability, even grabbing the Fools to deny them any chance of a reset. Here we go. I love the Seer passive as you ADS constantly hold those hands up. Be like, where is my last member of Weave? I've got to take him out.
Remember when you could run normal run speed while holding on to that Seer tactical? Sorry, got a PTSD moment. It was crazy. When Seer came out on release, that was one of those nightmare areas where good luck ratting, good luck basically having a humanoid UAV just running through and finding any stragglers behind. Obviously, with those changes and it being seasons ago, years ago, we don't really have that action, but we do have the exhibit really coming in clutch to not only show them where a lot of these individual players are, but also to showcase the space that you could build up from the respective teams in the surrounding area, because the action has not stopped over from the down Beast side, who have heard the action happening over by the buildings where Spacestation was, but now we got KCP on the height, C9 sharing this building with what looks to be Vanity on the other side.
Yeah, we got 4 different teams here. Pioneers are operating the lower side of Down Beast. You have Oblivion up top. You have Vanity that have that chokehold on the building outskirts of that ring console. Now, I love that Cloud9 did rotate in. They used the Dark Veil to make sure that they had a relatively cut off line of sight from the top of Down Beast, and they have put in themselves in such a solid position now that we know where that zone is inevitably pulling to. Now, Falcons, who've had to make their way all the way from Lightning Rod, will be showing up to Down Beast just a little bit late, but they're sitting triple purple and they've avoided all the checkpoint chaos. Or do they third it?
It's a little tempting here, but their priority were those evil harvesters that you just saw them. So if anything, they could just hold that choke and completely annihilate these teams here that eventually would have to rotate, whether it be on the north side of checkpoint or commit to that south side that we saw Falcons in. Liquid Alienware have moved up. They're getting pinged off to the side, but they were able to get that initial knock onto Madness.
Yeah, this is a fight that we're gonna need to clean up and clean up soon. Yanya, you can see the cross just getting fired from all different angles. Luckily, does expend the grapple to get him back inside. But let's see what angles we can take. This is just a moment of reprieve before we jump back into the things, which honestly, if you did not get the full on Madness, there's a good chance that they're gonna set a regain. But using the supply bin as a head peek, okay, you love to see it. Get crazy with Pathfinder. Man, I do love some path craziness.
Oh yeah, I know Onset absolutely thriving out here. He never gave up on Pathy, by the way. He was always a believer out here. With these changes and the perks really coming through, I mean, mid-season changes even better, allowing the reset. And it looks like the reset from Team Liquid for allowing them to get on top of this building with some crazy rotates. They're trying to hold an off angle because they know they have to make their next move quick.
Yeah, there's one member of FURIA that's still lurking about, but it looks like they may have already dropped to the low ground and just decided we need to get out of here. That's why Niazul's kind of walking up looking for any kind of information we can get or see where FURIA may have ran off to. I think they did get the full on Madness early on, and now FURIA will be relegated to that duo in. Okay, still putting that damage down, making them really work for it. But this is also one of their big goals, right? They want that ring console information. Where do they need to pull to? And well, it's not going to be Checkpoint, and all the teams that made their way to Down Beast early on are going to be reaping the rewards.
Oh, they called it out so quick there too. And that goes hand in hand with the benefits of having a ring console on your rotate here. And the squads that were able to get that information already settled down in Down Beast. You have 4 teams, and a lot of the space to the south of Down Beast are very open, minus the hilltop that you could try to play around the LOS. But it's inevitable when you have so many other squads waiting to play on the edge of the circle to collapse.
For sure, and for most hated on your screen, it would be really nice if they could go into the end game with their level 2 perks, but 763 away from Laser. I honestly think their fuse wasn't that far away. Now, maybe if we connect and stick someone with the knuckle cluster, we can get that damage done quite quickly, but the angles that we are taking straight onto DSG, even the focus of attention comes out, trying to fend off the push, and it does enough for now, but not when you've just got to invest those knuckle clusters straight into that open area. Enemy, though, on the left-hand side, we'll have to check in with them later.
And it's also nice to highlight how teams like KCP benefiting off the high ground of Down Beast because they land over by mill, so an easy rotate. Vanity, who do land Down Beast, stuck inside of a building on that low ground, avoiding all the chaos that these other squads like Energy have to now navigate through when it comes to what their next plan is going to be. Having that seer as well as the fuse that we've been constantly seeing, the Bangalore from Nox before making that next call if they want to hold this choke, while noting that both Falcons and Stallions, closer to the Evil Harvester to their south, are also looking at them, except Energy at least are in that circle to try to gatekeep and help out Falcons deal with Stallions.
Justice for any team on the south side of Checkpoint right now. Team Falcons have taken control of that choke point. We know what rotations look like when you have to get through that choke to Down Beast, because everyone from Down Beast looks at you. And what Team Falcons are about to do is they are going to look to full send any of these teams trying. And the thing is, if a fight breaks out down there, it's going to be multiple squads going down, not just that isolated fight that we talk about. But for Yup, who had such a strong showing in match day number 7, they have found themselves on the outskirts of that choke and must fend off. We've already invested the exhibit. It's giving you information, but when you're being bombarded by everything, I'm talking the 12+ nades that fuses have just lined up ready to go, it doesn't matter. You get eviscerated and Native joins them.
What? That was insane. That was a knuckle cluster, fuse ult, Bangalore ult from another team. Then you currently saw like RKN's bombardment on the Gibby coming in here too. It is actually chaos right now from the squads fighting their way from the north side. FURIA, disguised CCE, now looking at Falcons, now looking to get involved versus Energy, as Stallions have wrapped up on the other side of Energy and have now pinched them instead.
Yeah, I mean, Hal already opened up. They've got the initial knock on to Reptar. NRG still fighting the other team that's still here, Stallions, and it's just allowing the Falcons to come in and play cleanup crew to not only Energy, but Stallions. Now at 3 eliminations, they've relatively cleaned out the south side of Checkpoint and can take all this loot and focus on how they're going to get into that Down Beast area.
And now you're worried about the squads that are still hanging out in Checkpoint, maybe hugging that ring console for any sort of safety. Who knows? Maybe with an evac tower can make some magic happen, but holding this position means that you will have to run into Team Falcons by that next choke. And the only other team waiting outside that choke for Falcons will be Elevate, coming in slowly from the southwestern side of that next circle. Spacestation engaged though from the high ground. They call out Nizul, drop down right into Yanya's face though. Zainu forced out to reset, but a little bit of a scattered fight here separated from Spacestation and Liquid.
Okay, Koi, from the high ground, Liquid Alienware, they are done and dusted, but now that that ring is starting to come in, time is of the essence. Do we have evac towers? There it goes. It gets called in, but are you going to be able to make that in time? We'll only have to see. There is no room for air. Falcons are going to do the same and call in their own evac tower, but from the north, FURIA trying to hit a last-minute reset with Madness throwing the Arc Stars down the line, but we need to be running.
And running, and with the smoke coming in tier 2, sliding down here. Is this the other floor? Furia's Vaxlon was one shot. He gets taken out. That was nonetheless a very hard rotate to make. Cap tried to stay alive. He got destroyed with a Sentinel shot out in the distance, and Flat were right below them after CCE get eliminated. In the distance is another team south, or rather north of Down Beast that's going to be disguised, who are still alive, looking at the chaos happening alongside them.
And we knew this was going to happen. You see Elevate has already moved into looking to play from Cloud9, but gets rejected from them. And now we'll be able to kind of try and stabilize here. You've got Chaotic. I would love to see some of these doors get reinforced, but Chaotic's got to focus on staying alive because, well, all of this fighting allowed the Falcons a free rotate into Down Beast. And here comes Hal on the Fuse, man. I was watching this guy scrim on Fuse, and this, when I say 12 nades in that inventory, we don't need syringes, we just need nades.
That's the most important thing. You don't need a heal when everybody else is already dead, and that's the way that Falcons plays, because look at the split attention, 0. I can only imagine that those comms are going crazy. They immediately diverted their attention to their backs, looking at the way that Falcons is playing, farming this lobby. Let's jump into a listen-in with Falcons as they clean up the rest of the last 6 squads.
Where came from?
There's a team on the fence.
Scan around a bit, Jen.
There's a team on the fence, team on the fence.
Nuke Northwest, play under. Nuke Northwest, play under.
Okay.
Let's go peek. I'm peeking now. I'm selling. We have
Maybe it's
corner.
above. Maybe it's above.
Or we can play front room building. Look to fight build.
They're being nothing over here.
I think it's better. I think it's better. Looking front room build. Just forcing it here. Forcing it here.
Oh, no, me! 3 men on me! 3 men on me! What about?
Fighting.
I'm blue! You're on foot! I'm getting shot inside.
I'm batting. Yeah. We're playing the killers. Play the killers.
Fuse almost cracked.
Bangs on me.
One's close.
I'm swinging.
Hitting me.
I'm chilling.
Bang, crack on you.
Thing is dead. I'm hitting them.
I'm dying. Fuse one, guys. Kill them. Fuse one. Maybe res? Not sure. No, don't res. Play for the side of the building in front of you, west. 300.
Yeah.
The side of the building, the side of it.
I'm part of that.
Like, not inside, alright? Don't go inside. Just jump to the side. You gotta go. Jump to the side.
Come to me.
We can't play that.
On me.
You have to.
Here, on me.
I'm peeking. I'm one. I can't.
Alright. Pull to me.
You can climb over, Jen.
Well, Falcons, we lose out on Hal, we lose out on 0, but Jen Burton, the Seer, last alive. But there's a lot of things we learned in that listen-in, is the fact that 0, given those calls, is doing the cardinal directions to the actual degrees, like 300 west, go. And Jen Burton lives to see another day. But for Oblivion, who have racked up 3 eliminations, find themselves in the top 5, Vicky, and in a really solid position.
It's great for them to also have that fence line to their right to stay out of the line of sight of the squads that are trying to look at them. I'm thinking about KCP playing off that slight low ground here, while Oblivion do have the height. They're playing in a split position to hold 2 different angles at the same time. 2 on your left, 1 on the height that you currently don't see right now, but KCP on full blue Evos is what I'm worried about. Jen Burton, can you make the magic happen here as a solo? I mean, you're gonna have to play your best with 5 squads left here.
Ooh, all right, disguised. Here, trying to get through these piercing spikes. They can be one of the biggest enemies left in the lobby. Purple mag on the Havoc, which makes it feel pretty nice regardless, considering it got that rework on the mags. Trying to take angles and fight through whatever you can. Sometimes you just gotta push in with the Hemlock and let enemy look to clean things up. Vanity now eliminated into the top 4. Do we have enough time to get a reset without anyone pushing? Well, you should be able to, because you just have a nice Jen Burton on your roof.
That's all you have to worry about, right? But you say that, and Jen is incredibly scary of a player like we know it, and maybe trying to see if he can find an opportunity to capitalize off of what is left of these squads. KCP with blue Evos, though, calling in an evac, right? Looking at them, though, is Oblivion waiting for them to try to commit here, but the smoke nades, there's only so much you can really do here when you're forced to only go in one direction, Tiff.
Yeah, you throw down 2 knuckle clusters and a ton of nades and you save the mother load, but here's what happens. Gent happens. He says, oh, you want to play Fuse? Pony up, baby. Here are my frags. This puts them into the top 3 and gives them a decent rotation out. We see Jen Burton fall, so now into the final 2, and we're going to open things up with some thermites. Let's let it burn.
I need to see a slow-mo what KCP just did to Oblivion. They decimated them, but with our last 2 squads in disguise now, turning things around, they are your game 1 winners. We talk about some changes in this lineup, and QZ are coming through with the rest of this team to make the magic happen for game 1.
It's quite impressive for DSG. We knew they needed to show out today. Now, think of this, right? They landed Trident. We were talking about all the rotations that could come through from Trident in particular. And if you're going to have a zone that really leads to you, well, down Beast. They moved in, took up residence, and just cleaned out all the teams they needed to.
And did it in a very fast fashion, Tiff, where we saw what happened to the squads caught against the ring. They rotated quickly from Trident. There was a ring console by Northpad, were able to get information and then place themselves very early on to avoid all of that madness that we saw before, right before all that stuff happened. So they really were able to time that rotate in an appropriate fashion so that way they wouldn't be finding themselves pinched in that final circle.
That was their 32nd pick too. So like they were already so far down the line in terms of POI draft for Stormpoint because they focused on getting their World's Edge pick in first. And so you've got to be feeling good. You're like, okay, well, I'm left with Trident. That's fine. I'll do just good, which makes sense because they're used to playing from Northpad historically. So they know all the rotations from there. Regardless, nice job done there for Disguised.
And Team Falcons still coming out with a lot of KP to their name. They still weren't getting the top 3 placement, top 2 at the same time, but with the KP that they were able to accumulate, wouldn't be surprised if they're sitting 2nd overall. Still great showcase, but also highlighting what happens when you split your attention into 3 different squads that were holding that fence line for a end circle like Down Beast alone, where there's a lot of open area to the south side of Down Beast. As we take a look at the match results, seeing the team that came out on top, Disguise with 9 KP to their name, KCP getting 2nd place, and on top of the 3rd place that Jen was able to get, we were able to get that 10 KP to accumulate to the total score.
Yeah, that is everything that you need to do. I'm talking about those 3 KP, considering you were underneath Down B sitting with blue Evos for an eternity. And even though Oblivion took those angles and tried to hold you out, they still walked away with 3 eliminations and 8 points, so it's really not bad. Then you look at SSG, who got caught up in checkpoint, double-digit points for their match 1. The back half of this, though, FURIA. They grabbed 5 eliminations, but they really ran out of time and got held at checkpoint, forced out south, and only walked away with 6 points. But for match day 7, that was so strong for Yup. Didn't really have the best start here in match 1, which is okay because the majority of their points come from World's Edge. I would just love to see them step up.
You gotta see if it's possible. When you have some of those difficult rotates into a volatile circle like that, you know why so many teams were trying to take the lead with those evac towers. But looking at Disguised and the way that they were able to play around the 4 KP from Design, 4 KP from QZer, and an enemy coming in on that Seer with 1 KP, but following up lovely here with the assist too. Even with this 9 KP though, you know, getting that dub on top of it all is gonna allow them to at least settle themselves in a comfy position within Stormpoint, Tiff.
Ooh, yeah, that's right though. Stormpoint not done. We are just getting things kicked off for North America. We're gonna cut to a quick break, and when we come back, match number 2.
Fire is the official PC and monitor partner of the Apex Legends Global Series. Well, great job casting that last one. DSG off to a great start with Q0 no less, jumping in as well. And Tiff, it's just always fun to see North America's shakeups. Match 1 already done and dusted, but game 2 underway. Still a lot that can happen here, especially for Group A, who have just 5 more games left before those regional finals. Let's walk through some highlights, though. Give me your thoughts on how today started.
Well, let's just run it back to the break with that trivia. Moist, not moist, moist, moist. I was like legit cackling over here. But yeah, the highlights, right? It was just the name of who got into Down Beast early enough and who called that based off maybe the second ring console or the third. But for Disguised, you know, they got here. They fought their way through the North and it really paid off. Now, Oblivion, I honestly thought they were going to be able to do something from this catwalk area, but then you just see everyone implode because of what they were trying to do to Kansas City Pioneers. Well, they answered back with a little bit of their own. Then they full swing out towards the left. And this free cam really gives us the lay of the land on how they tried to piece apart Disguised. But Disguised were just so strong in that fight.
A lot of work still to be done, but thinking about what is possible with DSG here, with just 15 points overall. 2 big wins, something like we've seen for Yup. Well, that could put them into the position definitely for regional finals, maybe to qualify, but it would have to be obviously a continued dominant performance. They're off to the right start, though. They do play tomorrow as well. And if you want to play, check out the Challenger Circuit. It is open for registration, closes on July 17th. The games will take place July 20 to 22nd. Visit battlefy.com/ALGS to sign up. Tiff, you've been doing a lot of hype about that. Always love a good Challenger Circuit.
I do. I used to cast Challenger Circuit back in the day. Me, Dia, Zephyr. We saw a lot of names coming from there. And you just see, you get a lot of roster changes where people try to just figure out kind of what their trio is going to be. And the journey really just begins there. And trying to make a name for yourself. We've seen a lot of heavy hitting teams actually stem from Challenger Circuit. Now you've got Tripods who show up. They get signed by Kansas City Pioneers and just kick off this entire journey. And it's been really cool to see.
It always happens just like that. Sometimes the little decision feels like, well, let me just sign up for this thing, see what happens. It leads to a whole new world of Fearless later. You can't believe the story. I've had that happen in my life. I'm sure many players, and I keep bringing up Atnam as well because we had a chance to interview him saying, you know, my dream was to be on that LAN stage. Well, at this point with Trojan, there's a chance. There is a chance. And so seeing those dreams become a reality, not just for you, but for your family, the people around you who go, wow, this is real. I definitely didn't understand the depth of what you were doing playing video games for that much. Well, it just is so great to see those stories happen again and again and again. So we'll see which ones continue to be told here after that Challenger Circuit closes. But big story for me, it is DSG right now. And I just, you know, I was a little baffled by the swap, you know, for Timmy. It didn't track with me, but obviously, you know, Timmy's spoken about it. And I think DSG finding rhythm that when they were playing at their best, looked like a team, Tiff, that really was starting to join that upper echelon of all of Apex. You know, one of the 4 or 5 names we're mentioning as to who could win this thing. It's now a new start. It's hopefully a fresh start for Enemy and Design, and still a team that I think has a lot of fans and a great org in support for them as they move forward.
No, I mean, I think those are all really good shouts, right? You think back historically, I've been keeping tabs on Enemy for a really long time now. I mean, he played on Atlanta Premier alongside Hill and Crook. Crook's still in it today as well, just on a different team. And it's cool to see them all kind of go their separate paths. But Enemy has really done a heck of a lot to make a name for himself, that historic run that they had on that prior roster. And now it's kind of like, yeah, you may feel like this is a step back for the time being, but it could only be one step back and then maybe multiple steps forward kind of a situation. And that's really what I want for them.
And that's so much a part of this, the dynamic around team compositions. I know I jokingly said that I had an opportunity to do a tournament last week, but the truth is, one of the things you notice in those environments, and you know, while I was there and it was quads, you know, we did have a pro IGLS every time. One of the things I noticed the most was how important to keep the good energy flowing it was for a team to not so you lose suddenly. It's silent. You don't know what to say. You might feel responsible. That was maybe my case. A player might feel like I'm I don't want to say it, but I'm getting a little frustrated. How you navigate those things sometimes is more important than the level of skill that you have on your team. And that could have been also with DSG a chance to say, well, now let's create a new environment here. Maybe the tone, maybe the way that we work together, it's going to work out a little bit more here. And so you got to hope that hopefully one of those things ends up moving forward in the right direction for them.
Yeah, you love all of that for Flat. You've got them on your screen right now, and we did get a look at where that circle was inevitably pulling to, right? We had down Beast right off the rip in match number 1, and well, we shore up over the majority of Checkpoint and now have found multiple teams calling Checkpoint home. The only issue I have with this zone is if you remember historically, we had something very similar and it pulled to Grav Cannon outside of Cedo. And I would hate for something like that to happen here.
Sometimes these early picks as well can be so difficult. A lot of teams will hedge their bets and just sit somewhere close enough to either location. Some teams, though, they'll go all in and try to hold it down. Speaking of SSG, a team that to me has stood out the most this season, especially being in a group with Falcons, just been phenomenal. Zainu, Koifel, and Phony, and it's not just that experience, but also youth. They have a lot of upside on this team. SSG taking their rotation in now, going to grab this Evo cash on the way. As they know where zone is, they're trying to take a northern route to it, but a lot of talent here in North America, and this is kind of the way it's been. You know, we were surprised when we did not see a North American win at LAN. Tiff, I'm sure North America is eager to get back up on that stage and hoist that trophy in Germany.
Well, now if you don't have the reigning LAN champs from Split 1 playoffs coming to defend their title, it really opens the door to see who can stand up and claim that championship. But for Disguise to open things up with a match 1 win, it would be really cool and very on brand of them to make a last-minute showing to a LAN event. So if they could find themselves based off today and tomorrow into the regional finals, we've seen them clutch up match point. Granted, that was alongside Timmy as well, but the new roster has a very capable issue of doing it. They've got that next ring information. We've got Tridents for rotation, and I'm really curious to see where they want to play, and it looks like they want to anchor off here in the choke point. Now, that's great and all, but when you've got Native maybe looking to hit a rotate on in, they've probably already sighted them.
RKN, Snipe Down, and Rambo. I heard RKN on a Gibraltar as well. I mean, we saw that earlier in APAC North. It's just amazing, the diversity again, and what a shout out. You guys mentioned it. It's worth just saying probably the most diverse we've seen these last few weeks in the ALGS. And I feel like we keep saying that as well. So big shout outs to the design team and everyone who's helping keep things interesting. Liquid Alienware, Yanya, Niazul, and Jaguar sitting up on top. Great spot for KP. Very, very powerful position. They've got the Pathfinder as well to get up there nice and early in the fuse. So it's going to be a difficult one if you try to pass through there. They're holding that southern west side right by Mill. Very, very comfortably.
It's kind of interesting because every Fuse player I've been looking at when it comes to their level 3 perks, right? As soon as you get purple shields, do you knock in the Knuckle Hustler or Reckless? Now, especially when you have so many Fuses in the lobby, and we've already talked about how much they love nade spamming, Reckless gives you that negative 50% on the explosive damage, which I thought would be a lot more viable. But we've been seeing other people, it's kind of like split, right? Locking in the Knuckle Hustler, which gives you the speed boost. And the only reason I'm saying that is because that's what Jaguar is locked in. So if we hit someone with that Knuckle, we get that speed boost, and it just seems like he wants to like throw it down and get into fights, and I'm ready to see it.
To me, I think it's more just that moment that you do hit it, right? If you are in need of a little bit of speed, I think it's about 30% what Bangalore gets with their double time passive. That can be the difference between staying alive and dying, right? Especially in a lobby like this, getting aggressive, you've got to make that rotation. A little bit of speed could save your life, but so could explosive damage. It's a toss-up, but the way I look at it is Knuckle Hustler, I can control if I'm hitting that, and minus 50% explosive damage, you kind of already have to be in a bad situation for that to take effect. And generally, I don't love things that work only when things are going really badly. That's just generally how I kind of consider it, because it means you're not in a good situation anyways. So, you know, you don't need benefits. But, you know, each to each their own.
I think it's because I have just like the risk management inside me. It's like, what do I need to do? And then you see that circle come to fruition, right? We thought we were going checkpoint last game. We pull all the way out to down B. So FURIA have set up shop in that same position that they took in match number 1. But this time it could actually pay off for them. Now teams like SSG, teams like Falcons, they're going to have to work their way in, and Stallions will have to make a play from the south side. Now I'm keeping my eyes on Albrelelli in particular, on that path, knowing what perk he got, because there is a ring console that is still in mill. They could jive back in, look to get that information, and I'm assuming, yeah, that's what he locked in right there. So they have that information, they know they have to move forward, and it's time to do so.
Well, round 2, still 20 teams alive. We've been able to go on some nice conjectures and talking points here at the start of this game because nothing is happening at all. And well, North America, I think the tension is real because they realize, well, each game here, I mean, now we're looking at 1/5 of the remaining opportunities for me to make my claim, stake my claim for being a part of regional finals, maybe being a part of LAN. So obviously everyone treating this with the utmost respect, as they should. Team Falcons, Jim Burton taking the role of seer here on this map and using that Heartseeker, just trying to get some info on the players above them.
Look, the fact that we were able to walk in through this checkpoint and just go underneath through spiders and now climb all the way up because FURIA has rotated further into checkpoint is crazy.
Yeah, this is just IGL stuff right here. I mean, at the end of the day, sometimes it's not flashy moves. It's knowing what you can get away with. How can you get away with it? And then going, man, that is just an experienced shot caller right there. Stallions, they are under pressure. Ram gets a shield battery off as well. Albrelelli around the corner, finds a little bit with the Volt. He's going to get a full knock. And that is beautiful there from Albrelelli. The Hemlock doing work yet again. And they're still in the middle of a fight. Exhibits will go down, though, so no more information. Will they stay aggressive? They will, and Albrelelli goes down just like that, and so does Retzi also, and it's Elevate Gaming who swing when the exhibit ends and clean up Stallions.
That is so wild between C9, Stallions, and Elevate. But Elevate need the eliminations. They need to make one heck of a match day number 8 for them. They own Spacestation for the time being. But since the circle isn't necessarily coming here, we have to figure out what our best course of action is to get out of here and get deeper into checkpoint. You look at all the options. We've got that tunnel where Weave has occupied themselves. NRG are electing to hit the evac tower and find themselves further on in from that northern side. Now, knowing where Falcons had already walked on through, we're electing to go towards that right hand side. CCE there, and no, actually, we're going further.
Interesting. It's a good wrap in a way, but what they don't know is there's another team making the same wrap from the other side, and it's SSG. This should be interesting here. NRG, though, are gonna be able to probably win this if they can land and get their med kits, because if they can do that, SSG has to be coming in here with less health than what they've got. I'm not sure they're wise to it, though. They might just be looking out for themselves, saying, let's just get up, get out of this choke, and that's exactly what will happen. They'll run under CCE, and SSG will just still be waiting in the zone. And Liquid Alienware's right behind them, too. What is this?
Nothing like getting mirrored. I don't know. We just better start dancing for SSG. You better move on forward or start focusing back, because not a single bit of phony has moved behind to check the ring, despite that passive being the one to give you that information. You do see the enemy nearby, so it seems like they've pinged it out, but Jaguares, look, they made sure they healed up before entering, and here we go. The Havoc is opening things up, but not enough. Not enough. Zainu, Koi. I'm talking a Fortitude 9.8 play just went down on Liquid Alienware.
And I'm telling you, though, they get silenced and scanned right there. That's a massive element that Seer brings that Bloodhound does not. Reptar, Fun, and Knock, they kind of made the smarter play. They didn't know someone was behind them, but if they assumed, they just got to the high ground first. So now they can play spoiler if they want to, but they're still looking forward. They're going towards zone. Knock, he's going to lose Reptar, and he's alone. Now he's silenced as well. Doesn't have the ability to throw the ultimate or a smoke, which could save Fun. He's got to use bullets to try to get it. He hits a few, but it may not be enough, Tiff.
Yo, this is going south way too quickly. Reptar get pieced apart by Adavan and a Hemlock at mid-range, and now Knock is going under fire from the top of checkpoint. We do have some trees to work with, but the chances of us recovering Fun and Reptar are going to be a very tall task. Tempr does fall thanks to some help there from SSG. But job's not done, and well, DSG, they're running into some issues as well. We saw them set up in this choke point, but they never actually made it into Cascade. You love to see the amped up Sentinels, but when you're trying to take down a team on a Trident, there's only so much you can do, especially running into the same issues that Knock did, right? Opening yourself up to angles that can be taken from above.
Great pressure with the Sentinel. I mean, there's a chance, but it's kind of like the one in Dumb and Dumber, you know, 1 in a million. Probably not going to be happening to get that team back. ESG designful, just they have to go solo. Here is Laser and Dynasty, keeping him honest, not risking their position though. E8, they're running through this choke. Another battle of the chokes. It's just been an element of this game. It started off slow, but now it is jumped up to high speed. How are they going to get through this one?
They're gonna nade. They are gonna nade. Unleash the remaining 6 frags into that tunnel, please. But you do have Weave that's gonna be trying to make a standoff. You have 50 seconds before that ring starts to close in, but you need to make this as quick as humanly possible. Already showing up on that focus of attention, so your abilities are going to be silenced for now, and Slayer just takes the brunt of the damage. It's gonna be a tough one, but Elevate needs to get through them.
Meanwhile, Falcons also in the middle of a fight, and this one's with Yup. And FURIA says, I like the sound of this. Let me get involved. So now 3 teams. FURIA chasing Falcons as well. Jin Burton, not even on a red. Man, terrible. Falcons obviously putting a lot of damage in as well. Almost full armors for them all. And this is the fight we were just seeing. Elevate make their move, and it works. It goes down. 3 in a row, and that's Zach Mazer and Elevate cleaning up that fight, pushing through a Weave, and they'll get the reset.
Those are the only kind of Mazer moments I thoroughly enjoy, when Mazer can clutch up for the squad. That is the new era. We saw that trajectory go through Elevate, coming through some roster changes, playing with this team throughout Split 2, and I need to see them in regional finals. We've got to get off the bubble. However, yes, we win the battle of the tunnel, but it's a real war that we've got to get through. Oblivion, we've already thrown down the mother load, trying to just isolate off that, but the Dark Veil comes through and kind of cuts off their line of sight for a moment.
Wall? Yeah, I think that was maybe a mistake from Akimbo there. He kind of shuts off Blink's ability to pressure Elevate, and I think Elevate get away because of that, and Akimbo actually goes down. That might have just been a miscommunication, maybe not great timing there, but Elevate will live at least for now. DSG will fall as well, and Blink's still alive. He's lost 2 in the zone. He gets that med kit off, but it would have hurt. And now Elevate will make it in safely, and Blink under pressure.
Yeah, I think that was 100% a misplay, so good shouts there. But Elevate Gaming, they do get the energized zipline rotation before the Falcons essentially cut them down. And here goes Zero. He sights out Blink, and he's like, all right, well, we're just going to clear out the entire south side. Well, maybe we'll keep rotating out, right? Flat, they've got the next building just to our west. So we send out Zero. We send out Hal in a little 2v3 situation with Jen kind of anchoring from behind.
FURIA also have been very active. Keon, Vaxlon, and I'm Madness. They've been threatening Falcons. It forced Falcons to rotate. I think they found a nice building, but they may still be looking for KP. Falcons are definitely on the hunt. They're going to look to try to find Flat. FURIA content to stay here, but maybe not for long. SSG jumping into that one. Here's Falcons jumping up yet again on the Flat. 3 reds, 7 squads left. Only 3 kills, but looking to add more to the tally here.
Oh, okay, there's one. It's gonna knock straight onto Mamba. And you can run, you can hide, but you are not gonna get away just yet. You're prolonging the inevitable, and Zero is on the chase. Flat eliminated.
Falcons, they just don't give you a lot of chances, do they? I mean, geez. Very, very aggressive. Always looking for it, and why not? I mean, you've got the 3 most winning LAN players individually there. You combine them. It's the reason they're called a super team, and they keep proving it day in and day out. They have stayed hungry. That is one thing you cannot say they have not done. They have stayed hungry, and they're continuing to do well here in game number 2. SSG also having a little bit of a moment. CCE, Yup, and Most Hated round out our 5 squads here, and also FURIA. to make our last 6, Tiff, as we head into Zone 5, about to close.
Yeah, I really love where FURIA has positioned themselves kind of in that catwalk where the survey beacon is above all of these teams. Now, Falcons from the low ground are going to get all of this pressure from CCE. We talked about the legend diversity. Well, this squad with the Rampart, Loba, throwing down the amped covers. We got the bow check, but can we get Cape back into cover? We have to do what we can, and we're trying to connect those, but not with the knuckle clusters coming in from Hal. It is making things a little difficult to deal with.
CCE, Trev Stacks, he has been a man of loyalty. Rampart, every single game, whether it's in content creator tournaments, whether it's in the challenger circuit, or whether it is in the ALGS. Rampart again makes another top 5, and it's courtesy of that man and that squad right there. Can they get the win? However, that's the question. FURIA on the high ground. Hemlock and Havoc meta still has not shifted, or at least not shifted much. Very much dissimilarly to how we've seen the legend meta shift so drastically. Zero, he goes down, but he gets a lot of damage. This is them going on CCE. They get the cleanup, but they might have to do it as a 2 now.
Yeah, and what cost? Zero goes down. Not fooled just yet. FURIA was looking for angles to see what they can, but I mean, if you're gonna punch him straight into the hands of Jen Burton, he said, let there be light, get back up. And now they're gonna get an absolute reset because no one wants to send off the high ground of checkpoint to put any more pressure onto them.
This is part of the intelligence there of who to push, when to push, why. They know that CCE. I mean, no one else is really playing Rampart like that. And so they feel confident they can win that fight and reset. Now FURIA is still on the high ground using the Pathfinder's mobility. That energized zip line is going to make it a little harder to get shot off and fall down. But how long can they stay on this high ground as well? It's Falcons who are getting pressured. It might just be FURIA going to push Falcons. That would leave it up for SSG to come in and maybe win this game.
All right, SSG, let's see what you can do. Keon grabs that knock onto Hal and immediately jumps towards the other side. It's only a matter of time before they fully send. They're just trying to acquire enough knocks on either side. This is where teams really start watching that kill feed to see just how many have gone the way. But if we're sitting at 6 eliminations, this could be massive. And why not grab a survey beacon scan towards the end of the game to see where everyone is accurately at?
Yeah, I think he's getting some Evo shield as well, and that actually puts Madness onto a red. So that's so interesting because you're going to get that for your team. You do have the ability now to have that extra little bit of armor that might make the difference. FURIA here in a good spot. But when are they going to drop? Falcons is gone. SSG do that. Sometimes it's not a good thing to drop, but they drop under cover, and Keon hits everything. So we thought it might be an even match here, but I don't think so. It's a furious performance from FURIA, and it looks like with that KP, it'll make it a 2v2. SSG has to pull a rabbit out of the hat, and it could just be Zainu doing it. He gets one. Oh, but FURIA clutches up, and they seal the deal in a deliciously deadly 2v2 to win it all.
That is exactly what they wanted that match number 1 to look like when they moved into checkpoint. The moment that zone pulls to down beast, we're like, okay, it's fine. This is potentially chalked, but at least we double down for match number 2 when the zone actually ends in checkpoint and we convert it to the dub. Honestly, based off what I saw on the timeline from Keon earlier when he was saying how the power went out, how we had to move setups, getting a match win right after that is got to feel so good. Maybe a little bit of calm in the storm of the chaotic things that come through IRL for ALGS.
Sometimes when you're competing too, it helps to have stuff. You never want to set it up this way, but when your mind is focused on all these other things and you don't even have time to think too much about the game, you just go in there and you're very focused. You're very streamlined because you haven't been able to mentally worry about stuff. You haven't been able to like overdo. You know, sometimes you can overstudy for something. And I think when you just go in and you're in a right mental state, yes, things are happening in real life, but like, hey, I have no control. I got to just play. It can help relax you. And so whether that's really the case, whether I'm just talking it up, either way, FURIA get the results that they're looking for, no matter what setup they're playing on. And that's a dub in game number 2.
Yeah, love to see that. 9 eliminations. And then you move on down. SSG, who started on the low ground and had Falcons on that opposing side, they all walk away with decent points. A 17-point game for SSG, 16 for Team Falcons. But because we have the majority of the eliminations in the top 3, it doesn't leave a lot for our other squads. Most hated in CCE, yes, they're going to round out the top 5, but the most elims outside of that are going to be flat in native gaming. And then you jump all the way down here. elevate gaming with 8. This could have been the game that they were waiting for, fighting their way through the tunnel, but could get out of there. That was tough.
That was tough to see. A lot of little moments that didn't go their way, but they did well to get there. They took down Weave in a tough spot. They got taken down by Falcons as well. Blink tried to kind of gatekeep them too. It was difficult. But let's focus on the teams who kind of had a plan. FURIA really had a plan this one. This was great work to be in a position where they didn't have to do much except drop down and hit some shots. And Keon, well, he definitely did that. Top damage leader overall, at least in this top 3 and on his team. SSG, Zainu almost popped off. I thought maybe he was going to do it. And of course, Falcons rounding it out. This will be your top 3 in the reverse order almost for 2 games gone, with DSG and Flat rounding out our top 5, Tiff.
That's pretty solid, right? Falcons haven't won a game, but have been finding enough eliminations and consistency to put themselves at the top of the leaderboard by 6 points. FURIA and SSG tied, and Disguise did have that match 1 win, and it's kind of holding them throughout it. But who's gonna know? I mean, it's literally only 2 matches done.
Only 2 matches done, 4 more to go. The Group A versus C showdown continues with Game 3 right after the break.
Miller is the official chair partner of the Apex Legends Global Series.
What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Apex Legends Global Series North America time, and we're just about to get underway with that final Storm Point map, Vicky.
It's going to be great, and the fact that Falcons still leads the way, I don't know if this is just a common occurrence with Falcons where it's not about the dub, it's about staying consistent, it's about getting the KP as we take a look at some highlighted moments from the end there, because it was FURIA, FURIA finally answering their own call, being on the high ground before dropping down, but it was the journey of Falcons to be able to fight from that low ground to be able to put themselves in that last final circle, Tiff.
I know you answered the Apex back call earlier, but were you like signaling it over checkpoint for them? You're like, stay here, FURIA, it is time.
It had to be. It had to be for FURIA out here, especially since I know always trying to put, not only putting FURIA on board here, but we know the potential that this squad has in store for us. Also, amazing timing on the drop here at the very end of this final circle, directing their attention from both sides, but very scary. You know, it was a 2v2 at the end, but Spacestation played that very patiently to get second.
What a clean win. Now we kind of refresh on where our POI draft drop spots occurred there. For Storm Point, FURIA coming from the wall. Zeus Station not necessarily working out the best for Yup currently, but granted, I said it earlier, I'm not too worried about their Storm Point. World's Edge is where they get the majority of those points for that roster. DCE making a good play from Command Center, getting the underside of checkpoint and going the distance. Would love to see them grab a couple eliminations along the way for this final match. Now, Vicky, I gotta ask you, because every time we cast together, we get a lot of similarities in the zones, despite the changes. We went down beast, we went checkpoint. Where are we going for match number 3?
You know what? At least it's not those Echo HQ zones. I know you remember that. I know you remember that, Tim.
Yeah.
You had them all the time. But it's at least, you know, been a little bit of diversity. Maybe not today in these final zones, but I'm banking on a southern zone, Tiff. I can't tell you whether it be southeast or southwest, but I could sense a southern zone incoming, which would be fantastic for the likes of T-Law, Stallions, maybe even KCP, who'd like to land over by Mill. And let's get started now. Our last game on Stormpoint before we transition onto World's Edge.
All right, so for the teams that have found themselves outside the top 5, or maybe you're not even really within grasp of the regional finals and this is your last play day. Let's convert here. I'd rather see it on the 3rd and 4th matches of the day as opposed to the last 2. But for FURIA, who just took that match win, hailing from the wall, we look at the resources that they have to start with. They were blessed with not 1 Evo cache, but 2.
All right, benefiting not only off of that, and we know that since they do like to split up where one member of FURIA always usually tries to scan the survey beacon into those southern buildings, that neighbor's wall, now they have a ring console. So you got the Evo harvesters on both sides, you got the ring console, a survey beacon. Talk about getting boosted with those Evo shields early game to start off FURIA's rotation.
The Apex gods have definitely blessed FURIA after that win for sure. And now we're going to extend out there. Make sure we can grab the assault bin as well. Look, they're just really killing that. And honestly, Vicky, I was thinking about it because the new POI draft this year, I had no idea what to expect when we came into it on match day number 2. That's the last time I'd been on the broadcast and I've just been waiting, watching, and I'm just like, it is so crazy to see how it changes the game. And that's why I can't wait to talk to our halftime guest later today so we can like pick their brains about it. But Dylan, you said it. You said we were going south. We are.
There's no way. There's no way. After
you said, oh my God, you said Echo HQ.
There's no way. I'm hoping that it doesn't. I only say that because I've gotten baited with the circle before. Remember when you and Dia beat Gaskin and I in guessing these final zones, okay? Of course. I blame Dan, by the way. But we saw circles like this and they completely shifted in the complete opposite direction of what we were expecting. So maybe we've seen a similar circle like this where it could pool by the bridge of NRG. And they have a survey beacon and ring console to play off. So they'll definitely have that information. Whereas teams like Oxygen, Weave, who are now floating in through the evac tower, only have that survey beacon right there by Echo HQ.
So that's where you wanted to go. Bridge by NRG. All right, she's locked in her choices. Dan can't ruin things for her now. Like, you can't blame Dan after this one. But no, I think that's a pretty solid call. We saw Pylon earlier in EMEA, but when we saw Pylon, it was because the large majority of Pylon was included and it didn't actually convert all the way down to necessarily Echo and Devastated Coast being inclusive of it. Now, NRG has decided to move a bit further south based off their initial reaction more towards Echo HQ, and CC on your screen have taken a very wide rotation out through Devastated Coast.
And you know, the different types of end circles we've seen on this side, we've also seen it pull towards Devastated. Although this circle obviously isn't on top of Devastated, and it's more so pulling over to the side. It could also be on the outskirts of Echo HQ by the bins, north side of where we saw Oxygen originally. But this could also benefit the lights of CCE, depending on the way that they situate themselves on this high ground, since they are the only team rocking that rampart. Shout out to Trev, actually, who is able to still stay consistent with the rampart Loba composition alongside the rest of CCE. But it's going to be difficult when you're playing by the edge, and you know that teams like C9 over by Devastated are also going to be looking at you.
Ooh, you're not wrong. But for SSG, who's found themselves in a really nice position for the day on that series results, be curious to see what they decide to do here. But the Battle of the North is currently going down. Hal all the way out on that eastern side of this fight with FURIA just ahead of them. Now they've rotated out from the wall and are still meeting here at Zeus because of the information that Zeus has here. You've got a replicator, you've got a ring console, you've got a lot of things that are viable to teams this early on. Now, maybe they were looking to hit that, or maybe they saw Falcons. They were like, all right, cool. No one else is going to be up here in the north. Maybe we take some bites and see if we can grab that. But honestly, what FURIA is doing, disengaging from that, diving down in the tunnels and focusing on that long rotation south, is pretty much the best bet for them.
Yeah, calling out the Wildlings, it would rather just not even take that fight, right? They're just going to end up rotating away from the wall on the north side of this map, and now are going to try to see if they could beat Falcons, because considering the fact that Falcons are right there in Sioux Station, they could get the information with the beacon that's there, while also taking the balloon, the tallest balloon that you could ever be on top of an Apex, to close out that distance on the north side of Storm Point. While the action over to the south side here, Tiff, this is what we're expecting. There's about 5-6 teams right now that have already situated themselves closer to Echo HQ.
Yeah, you got Vanity right here with the Trident playing along the rocks, and they tried to make that rotation into Echo, and they ran into a force that's going to be Elevate Gaming. We know how crazy Elevate likes to play in this early rounds, right? They're known for picking up multiple eliminations, and honestly, this one's going to go to KCP because Jet has just decided to absolutely destroy them with the knuckle clusters and the onslaught of the arc stars that are coming through. You know what? Why not even bestow the mother load upon them? They're forced to expend the Dark Veil and try to cover those line of sights, but what occurs is that hungriness that Elevate has for KP. They swing knowing that they're vulnerable and just clean it on up.
And they know that there's another team on the other side that was helping them, which was KCP, closer to the evac tower side of Coastal. While now, through a choke, Flat find themselves in a fight here, looking at the teams that may be coming through Jurassic. It was Stallions that were looking to take some shots at them before they ended up rotating away on a Trident. And while Flat are also looking to see if they could get into Pylon, it is only Spacestation Gaming that are in the middle of Pylon that are camping that beacon.
Oof, so we're gonna just be like, nah, I'm not going. All right, Flat hitting the long rotation to wrap around maybe towards that launch pad side. I see that we're being weary and we're trying to determine if anyone's on the other side, but I respect the cautiousness. But let's turn our sights back to Devastated Coast, Vicky. CCE is still on this high ground platform building. Native has moved into one of the lower buildings, but the question is, where do we pull? You get that third, the information that comes from someone having the ring console for the third scan, and well, that would help you save a lot because that Echo HQ migration coming out of there is going to be atrocious.
I'm pretty sure we've seen CCE with a very similar plan, calling out this circle, pulling on the outskirts of that big rock that's north of NRG that you currently see Oblivion rotating to, and it benefits the way that they play since they are going to settle down for an end circle with the Loba Black Market doing the rest of the work, which is why they rotate very quickly to avoid having to waste any time on picking up the loot that they may need to situate themselves in a circle like this. But they're on the edge of the circle alongside Yup, while Oblivion will be in the middle of a circle where it's going to be chaos looking at the squads that are going to be funneling outside of Echo HQ in the open.
Very interesting. You got an evac dead center of HQ. Not sure if anyone's taking it or if we're just kind of using it for other things, but in the time being, overboard on Falcons, still very far north. Knowing that they hail from Lightning Rod, they're going to have one of the longest rotations when it comes to those southern zones on Storm Point. We kind of touched on that, but they've been mirroring FURIA for like the longest time ever. They're not that far ahead of them. So FURIA is going to have to decide, do we want to go through Jurassic and carve our path towards Pylon, or do we cut towards the east and go more to those no-name buildings and come down through Launchpad?
Lots of opportunities here from that northern rotate because there is no other squad, right, in that northern side other than FURIA and then Flat holding the edge of the circle here. So they'll be able to take their time and maybe even prioritize some Evil Harvesters or a ring console if they want some extra information before these next 10 seconds allows that next ring to close. Liquid Alienware on full blues, still playing off of that South Echo HQ side. It doesn't look like they were able to get the ring console info, so they're waiting here, seeing if it does end up pulling towards that north side, where they'll have a better rotation while keeping note of all the other squads in the area.
Okay. Liquid Alienware down there on that most further side outside of Echo HQ, but to get ahead of that rotation and be just on the inside of the next circle, it's going to be a coveted one that a lot of teams are going to look to vie for, but I'm curious to see if we can stand off in that moment. For Elevate Gaming, we saw them pick up some early eliminations, but only found 2. Now on the outside looking in, they could go rather unnoticed and try to swing through the south. But I'd be curious to see how they approach it. Luxford's got the zip, so we can use it for some rotations, but I think they want more KP.
Are able to already start off great here, and if they keep trying to gatekeep the other squads to the choke, they can absolutely clean that up for free, but it does depend on the way that these squads on their north are also going to play that next circle slowly. They've been camping out that survey beacon here too to note where all the other teams are going to be and where they predict the circle is going to be pulling a Stallions. Alberlily zooming in on the grabber. Huge beams though, leaving another one. Can he get the last hip fire shot? Yes, he does. 2 knocks from Alberlily before he's forced to back away. Needs some help from Ram to follow up.
And Retzi just crawling, trying to get back towards the teammates, saying, please, you know, after you get through this, let's hit a res and try to reset. But they've got so much utility coming their way. You see the thermite that lands just at the back of Ram, and now the full send comes through. Having this knockdown gives them a bit of reprieve, but not when you keep taking the pressure. The shots are connecting, but maybe if we were close enough to get a shield swap off these members, it would make things easier. For now, it's round 2, so you can tank this a bit easier than maybe later. There goes the knockdown here. There goes the full, and we get knocked out. Blast standing.
And Alberlily was trying to hold an off angle to at least help out with some pressure, but something that he noted a little late was that there was a third party waiting in the distance inside the circle, which is disguised. Looking currently at the last member of Most Hated. Now Alberlily looking to see if he can at least try to get a reset on his knocked friend. And if they can at least try to wrap around, if they have the time to rotate in the direction of Elevate. But Disguise are just going to take free ring over this without even having to overcommit in the circle.
Yeah, this is going to be tough, right? You've got the path for mobility. Hopefully someone does have an evac tower to really give them that trajectory to rotate across from Echo. But even then, I'm just curious of where you decide to go for playable space. Most Hated does fall. We've still only lost 2 squads, and they've actually jumped back into the zone to look for more KP. You've got the remaining member of Stallions out here going rogue, trying to hit that reset like you said, but he's just running for it.
Good luck chasing after a Pathy, though, especially if you want to try to commit to a circle like this. Design would be the next close one to try to actually commit, but do you want to do that when you know you've already taken control over the choke that leads into Echo? Absolutely not. So he backs away. He ends up going with the rest of his squad to see what their next plan is and just letting Alberlily survive the best way that he can outside the circle.
You know, Alb on Path is just something that hits the nostalgia, let me just tell you. I've watched him play Path in pubs years ago. I'm talking Wingman, PK, you know what I'm talking about. The glory days of Apex Legends. So hopefully he can make a play. No, just kidding, he died. And that's really unfortunate that Luxford found him, so it's fine. I was still happy for him.
You were hyping it up here too. We were expecting to see some magic happen, some rendezvous of what's was waiting for us in the back end, but waiting for them inside this building. Spacestation, Koi getting burned by the thermite, having to back away with the shield back.
Okay, Zainu, we've seen some clutch moments come out of you from SSG, but now you've got to fend off FURIA on the opposing side, and they're not the only ones that are going to be looking to capitalize on this. Koi goes to the farthest area of the building and just plays the doorway, hitting that med kit back into the fray. We were expending the Rolling Thunder, and then you've already got 2 exhibits out. You have FURIA and SSG towards the right, Native and Falcons on the left. Falcons taking a lot of damage, but the numbers are stacked in their favor, and there's a very good chance they could look for a moment to push into this separate fight.
Can they do it here, though, with that information from the Seer, or are they going to respect this space inside this building? Because fighting this out between FURIA and Spacestation, you know that there's probably a team or 2 teams waiting for you on the building side or the bridge side. Vaxlon gets beamed, and they're going to be holding their lives by the door.
The focus of attention connects, and now Vaxlon cannot use anything. Keon here, waiting to see a little dance with the door. I wouldn't be surprised if we look for a different angle, right? That's what Pathfinder really allows you to do, and takes to the roof. Catches one off guard. Madness on the inside goes down. Well, that's courtesy of the EVA 8. Gets fooled, and now Vaxlon Keon have to avenge the fallen.
Oh man, drops down here too, but he's getting pinged on the other side. It is that Seer tack that is also putting in some pressure. The zipline created for RKN to also see if he could try to get a reset, get out of all the action, because guess who dropped down? It is Falcons making an appearance in that building, and RKN said, I'm out. Disguised with only Design left, could only do so much when he's getting shot at from 3 different directions.
Cloud9 has fallen, Disguised has fallen. We're into the top 10, and Elevator doing what they do best. finding those early to mid-game eliminations. And now we've got to focus on, with that 20 seconds remaining before the ring decides to close, what we can do to get ourselves into that devastated coast area. NRG are going to hold a building just on the outskirts of that ring and are keeping them in their sights. For FURIA, Vaxlon and Keon, well, let's get some ult excels, let's get our abilities up, and we'll see what happens. But for now, we're okay. We just have to hide from the Falcons when you got Jen Burton on Seer, and he's likely hunting you down.
They don't know. Falcons doesn't know that they're right next to them. They're waiting behind the tree as Falcons are trying to see if they can get on this high ground. They put down the evac tower right next to them. They have no idea that they're about to jump right here, and maybe even FURIA could jump up right behind them using the same evac.
And you got the mortar flare coming out from Hal. There it goes. It's gonna take all the information, and oh, here we go. You said FURIA, they didn't know. Well, FURIA is answering back. Keon gets cracked, Jen cracked as well. Forced back to the low ground, not able to lay siege to where Flat has positioned themselves.
And now with the mother load being called in and currently Falcons trying to reset, they've allowed FURIA to now reset too as a duo, taking a different position, avoiding Flat that is on the high ground, overlooking Falcons before they can still maintain the high ground. The only team that has that slight lip in that next circle.
Okay, Liquid Alienware, I see what you just did over here in the IMC Armory. So NRG did what we thought they were going to do. They gatekeep Elevate. They take them down. Don't get the full reset, though. And Liquid Alienware answer back with that exhibit of their own and completely piece apart NRG. And what does Falcons do? Well, they're like, oh, there's fighting over there. Let me go extend on out and see what's going on. But Zero may have just overextended. I don't know if he went down, but his name definitely just disappeared from the free cam.
And Jen is one for what it looks like as they're playing inside of that circle currently. We know that there's some rocks to play off of, but they're in the line of sight of Flat. FURIA is still looking at them, and Liquid Alienware from inside this armory have some different angles that they could take while utilizing the lip of this ledge to stay out of the line of sight, and even this double zip line on both sides of their right part of the armory.
Well, all is well for the Falcons in first place. Still looking for more eliminations. Only 2 so far, despite all of the action they have found themselves in. Now, Jen Burton under fire from the angles. Not a lot of a cover here, but we've got a couple boxes to work with. Liquid Alienware, after dealing with NRG, have decided to rotate on in, but you have to deal with Flat, who's just towards their north. So wrapping down south for Liquid is going to be more tough, but it's closer towards that circle.
Looking at this next circle and how they're going to force their way in. Let's not forget CCE's also around here. Hawades, though, now knocked only up to Yanya, who's taking a different angle currently. They know exactly where he's at thanks to that Seer tech, and he's neighboring the mother load. He gets beamed and destroyed by that Volt. Jen Burton now left one after overextending. Hal and Zero, the last ones alive here from Falcons, trying to get out of line of sight of the team that have high after CCE also get eliminated.
I mean, Jen was probably anchoring for Hal and Zero in that moment, right? So now the dynamic duo of themselves are going to have to answer back for what Flat just did to them. Because yes, you are just in that next zone barely, but you've got a rock and you don't have your high ground. Those focus of attentions are going to keep on coming from Flat, and you love that pressure coming out of them. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a full send from Big Louie. We just kind of wait to get those knuckle clusters back online. We have 4 thermites to work with for this next engagement too.
It's crazy how Flat made this rotate from checkpoint north and are now on the high ground in what is the god spot before they inevitably have to drop here. They've been putting down the pressure. They have 4 KP, and this is a team that needs the dub, sitting in 24th overall currently with 32 points, looking to see if they can add on some more KP while they're looking both at KCP right below them and Falcons as a duo.
32 points. Now, granted, because of the point sponge on the series leaderboard coming into today, even 10 points would bring them up to 16th place, and we'll see how it goes. Flat full sending that dynamic duo, taking out the Falcons, putting themselves in the top 3. Now, how do we try to contend with this? Because we are all on polar opposites, looking like the Bermuda Triangle over here at the devastated coast. Pioneers, they have a shrivel left of their building. Same with Yup, but they have so much more cover than Flat does.
And what the decision right there from Flat was so on point, because they know now that the circle's closing in, if they would have moved forward, they are just going to get pinched that the duo was left there as Team Falcons. So they capitalize off of having a number advantage and now are looking at closing the gap, as KCP with just Deeds left alone by himself in that building has his teammates to wrap up behind them, eliminating Flat. It is now our last two squads between KCP and Yup.
They just deleted Flat, and now here comes Yup with the push. They even get a little bit of a high ground here. We thrown down the exhibit. Prodigy Aces gets lit up, and now the Havoc doing work. Let's go, Dupe. You've got the trades coming through, and now the push is in. 5 HP in a dream, but Pioneers take match number 3.
Huge plays here for Pioneers. This is one of the teams that we were looking at for all the right reasons, and now they come out on top after also having the pick advantage on Storm Point. Don't forget, they land over by Mill, but they put themselves in a great spot off by that low ground where we saw a lot of other teams hard predict an Echo HQ zone.
Yeah, that was crazy. So all the teams that thought Echo HQ, and it really pulled to devastated Coast. Now, that could be because those zones kind of overlap on the edge, and I usually don't play by that because, you know, we've been wronged so many times in the past with atrocious zone pulls, but this one rang true, and CCE knew it. However, they weren't able to necessarily make it to the end game, but regardless, KCP needed that in terms of that overall series leaderboard.
Nice to see there, too, with their patience, because the way that they also were able to help cover Deeds at the same time when Flat try to fully extend inside of the building, saying, oh, there's only one in here, free. But KCP held a split position, allowing themselves to take free shots at the backs that were flat, and then they took very minimal damage. It was really just D's that had to reset with the quick Evil Shield swap, and once that catwall came up, they were able to rejoin together in a full trio to then contest the other trio that was facing them on the other side.
Whew, so much chaos, but Storm Point done and dusted, and from here on out we'll just worry about World's Edge. So maybe, you know, it's not your strong point for that Storm Point. We'll see how it goes on the other side of this series. For now, it's one of my favorite times, and I feel like we're gonna have to figure out where Rain Day is and get him back in here eventually, Vicky.
Oh, wait, I hear a voice coming in here through. It sounds like Rain Day.
Oh, this
voice
is
from
God
beyond.
speaking. Yeah. Welcome back. Myself, I'm welcoming me back. It is one of my favorite times to come back and join it after all the fun I see you two having on end games like that. It was close, and this is the thing we thought about. Yup, could they do it? Well, they were on their way, almost got a win. I'll take a second place. It's still possible. Let's see if they can go back to back 50 points in 2 days and somehow find a way to get to those playoffs. But Flat also performing well. They need it. They're sitting in 24th outside of regional finals. Falcons, they've got enough points. We already know about them. FURIA, CCE, still making it into top 6. So strong performances. Native Gaming rounding out our top 10. But on that backside too, we still got some teams who at any point in time could turn it, especially Tiff when you look at switching maps now.
Yeah, exactly. For Disguised, only 3 eliminations. Stallions pick up 3, Oxygen and Weave with 2, but really not too many points to be acquired here once you move outside the top 10. We're just really getting everything sponged from the teams that have been acquiring a lot of eliminations, but maybe not getting the most of those placement points. Regardless, when we set our attentions over to World's Edge, man, anything can happen. We got to look at the series results before we get there.
And of course, like you said, it could, on a drop of a hat, change. Vic, after 3, though, Falcons in the lead. Pioneers, FURIA, SSG, and Flat rounding out our top 5. But in between that kind of 6th place all the way down to about 11th, just one good game changes it all.
It does. It's very tight here, but I'm looking at that gap. There's still a gap that Falcons have built up. Even if they haven't taken a dub, it's about the KP that they've been able to accumulate on top of the placement points. Another day here for Falcons, as per usual. Nothing crazy here to know, aside from the fact that looking from KCP all the way down to Disguise, like you mentioned, Rain Day, one big game on World's Edge could change the way that this overall standings looks like for the day.
Should be interesting to see who can, you know, step things up. Consistency, it's measured in a lot of different ways. Well, yes, on a map, yes, across match days, but in this one particularly, you've got to keep up the pace. And this also comes into it. Well, let's talk about the POI draft. You know, maybe you're not playing out of your preferred spot, staying with momentum and still doing well each game. It's difficult to do. You would hope someone would have your back, and maybe even, you know, I don't know, have some stats around it. Maybe they've analyzed what and how you can do this as well. In fact, I know the perfect guy to ask about that. It happens to be the analyst of Team Falcons themselves. It's Privacy who's joining us here. Privacy, welcome. I know your team is playing. They're doing well. Thank you for joining us. I know your voice is a little sore, but you still made it here for our halftime show.
Yes, thank you for having me here, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry that my voice is completely gone, but it's the weather of Germany. Today is warm, the next day is cold. So that's what happened.
Yeah, I'll have to bring a jacket for sure. Mannheim is coming up. You're only a couple hours away. That's exciting. Now, and we'll see if Falcons can make it. I don't know at this point if they'll qualify. Jokes aside, though, Privacy, you are an analyst for Falcons. What do you do? Yes. What's your role for those who don't maybe know what an analyst does on Apex?
Okay, what analyst does is actually for any battle royale, word, the analyst is very important because battle royale has a lot of RNG. The analyst will work to do this RNG and minimize it. We cannot eliminate the RNGs, but we can minimize it. Plus, we can then get information about teams rotations, our own team performance on zones, in certain zones, improve them, get some kind of information of how to improve it by studying other teams as well. So such a stuff an analyst can do.
I like that. I like that. So how many hours a day would you say that you work on being an analyst? I know you stream, you do watch parties, you do a lot of things out there, and you give out a lot of free information to the Apex community in general. So I got to hear, how many hours a day?
Okay, and I have a full-time job as a product manager in robotic and machine vision. I do work in robotic and machine vision as a product manager. So I do around 8 hours a week for the team. But the stuff is what I do. I'm already with the team for 2 years. At the beginning, I built up all my tools, all my scripts, all my softwares to make everything ready. So when I want any information about data, I just make all of it automated, and I get this data for free. So like 8 hours a week.
Wow. That is very impressive to hear more about your background and how that also kind of correlates with elevating a team that is on top. There's so much to dig into this, but Privacy, I want to dig into some of these final zones here for our first 3 games. I want to dig your brain as an analyst into seeing the consistency that not only your team faces in these top 3, top 4 situations, but the way that teams like Disguise was able to take this first game here.
So in every zone, the style of fast rotating into a zone is already dead. You cannot really do this type of fast rotating. So what we did, for example, in the first zone, we played for the third beacon. We played for the information of the UAV. We maximized our Evo shields. We tried to, of the information of the UAV, we tried to take the building in Beast, but we couldn't get it because it was taken. So we played from the choke. We cleared all the checkpoint side. We got all the kills for free. Then we walked in because we knew that the chaos was gonna happen in some certain sides. So we walked for that. We played in the certain spots that we could do. We lost the game because the team tried to wrap us, which was a flat, and we had to fully commit on this fight. So we can win this. We can win this KP and maximize our points. So this is what we played.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Sorry.
No, you're okay. That's exactly what you guys were able to do there, Privacy. And it's interesting to see that going back and forth here. I know that when we were passing over this and seeing this between Rainday and Tiff, they were able to see FURIA from the high ground here, where Rainday, you were also able to witness them drop down.
It was an interesting one. This was a fight that I thought an amazing, technical breakdown. Privacy. We'll get your thoughts on the standings and allow you to say a final thing as well. I don't want to hurt your voice too much, but this one was interesting. Tiff and I had an opportunity to see Zainu maybe clutch it up. I actually played with Zainu this week as well. What an incredible player, confident, very, very good vibes. SSG is loving the value that he brings, but FURIA, they just had a better spot, and it would go to be the same thing in game 3. They wouldn't quite have the impact. They died at about 5th spot here. It'd be all Falcons, Tiff, but and then ultimately we get down to Yup trying to clean it up against Flat. But it was just a very good, I'd say, game where tactically they just put themselves in a good position to win.
And then Gent swings like that. Gent just eats with the damage, takes down Flat, and then you have this isolated final fight with Pioneers and Yup. And I really thought Yup was going to be able to convert this. You expend all of your utilities and such, but things just got away from them.
Certainly did. Yup, we thought they would come back and find a way to do it, but it's just tough when you have to turn that much and you're not firing. It's a havoc. We know what that is. KCP would ultimately claim it. You know, it's great to be able to look at these 3 games, and especially now, Privacy, before we let you go, I have to figure out if you as an analyst, besides the Falcons, have any analysis for us as we head into the next map. Do you have a team you think might be worth highlighting, you think will perform pretty well over this next swap? Or in your analyst mind, what should we be looking out for as we head into the last 3 of today?
I think FURIA will be doing better in the next map. So I guess we can keep an eye on FURIA. Plus us, for sure.
Yeah, plus you guys, you know, as well. Hey, you know, here's the thing. Thank you so much for spending time with us, Privacy. And guess what? The good news is you're already qualified, Falcons, for Mannheim. You live 2 hours away, so we expect to see you at that event. Hopefully your voice is feeling a little bit better then. And maybe we'll even have you on the desk, okay? We love the thoughts. Thank you so much for your time today, and good luck to you guys and Falcons for the rest of the tournament.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
So sweet. And, you know, putting in the effort. I've been there with the voice. I think we all have as commentators. Sometimes it's just, you just got to push through it, Tiff.
You do. And I really do appreciate Privacy jumping on here for the halftime show and providing a lot of that knowledge, because it's always good to hear from them on that opposing side. I do love to kind of dabble in and lurk on some of his watch parties as well, so you get those granular pieces of knowledge. And I'm just like, oop, that's a good one. He's really good at a job.
He is. You know, so are you, by the way, and you've done so well. We're going to send you on a break. How about that? Why don't you take a little bit of a rest and continue to get ready for games 5 and 6. Vic and I will close this one out as we swap maps. And that means, Vicky, we get a chance again to talk some Apex. Privacy, you know, an analyst, it's so interesting. We don't really get the behind the scenes of roles like that in esports. Falcons, you know, a team that can afford to have this type of situation where they have that extra support. But, you know, it's one of those things that's probably becoming more and more standard for teams who are saying we want to win. And we have not just local ambitions, we have global ambitions to be the best. Privacy clearly amazing at his job and working a full-time job as well, helping Falcons to stay on top.
That is so difficult. All my respect to Privacy. And I like how I've been saying it forever. And a lot of analysts, obviously, especially the coaches, going all the way back to Hodzic being one of the first ones to really be a trailblazer in how important a coach actually is for a lot of these teams in a battle royale. He highlighted one thing, though, that is very specific to what the coaches try to do, which is trying to minimize the RNG that is inevitable in a battle royale, which is why we see teams still be as consistent as ever, being on that number 1 spot. Falcons, his own squad. And I have so many other things that I actually want to pick Privacy's brain in the future. Cannot wait to see him over in Germany. But first things first, he talked about FURIA now popping off on World's Edge, because we are making that World's Edge transition for these final 3 games. Rain Day.
That's right. We asked him, who do you think we should keep our eye on? And it's FURIA. And I don't know why that isn't something that we're maybe highlighting as much. I mean, FURIA obviously really successful team, tons of veterans. Is it just a matter of, you know, this much talent, we're waiting for them to pop off to be in that conversation, Vic? I mean, they perform quite well over the course of the split. They perform usually pretty well at LAN. I mean, you know, this is a team that I think we should have our eyes on no matter what. They're clearly showing today they're on it.
100%. I never count out teams like FURIA, Team Liquid. These are teams that, when we talk about consistency, are consistently in the top 10 in the overall standings. Currently, FURIA are sitting 9th, and I mentioned Team Liquid before. They're sitting in 6th. Sometimes it could take a little bit of time to ramp up, and now this is where we can see why a map like World's Edge plays into their strengths. It can all also come down to being comfortable here, and that's why you see sometimes some of these teams try to prioritize their POI drafts on one map over the other.
RKN talked to us about it. He said, I'm just trying to kind of hedge you know, against the stuff that I'm not great at in terms of IGLing on certain maps. So I'll prioritize a better pick. So I have an easier rotation on map I'm not that great at in terms of IGLing. And I think a lot of teams have similar conversations. It's minimizing the RNG. It's also minimizing the pain points, Vicky. What could go wrong? Well, let's just eliminate as many things that could go wrong. We're going to expect to play through stuff as you should in a BR in any competitive landscape. Let's not make it harder on ourselves, especially when we know our natural tendencies, strengths, and our own weaknesses.
I love how you highlight that, especially it makes me think back about, you know, we highlight FURIA, but about C-Line and the way that he would go about things when he was previously the coach for FURIA and incorporating different strategies in the way that they would approach certain difficult circle pools. And now that we're seeing a little bit more diversity in the way that these circles have been pooling, I can't wait to see what to expect in the end zones on World's Edge. Let's get started now. Game number 4 here. And after that dub that we just saw from KCP in game number 3, can they continue it? Because it's not the devastated coast end zone that we were able to experience on Storm Point.
That's right. Here over at Big Mod, getting some weapons for free. You love to see it. I'm surprised actually with this midseason we haven't seen much more of a weapon adjustment. I think the one thing that's made me the most, I can't believe it, is waiting so long for the wingman to be back and then not a single pro. I mean, unless it's like the last gun available, uses it right now. It's just either perfectly balanced, and maybe they're like, yeah, I only play this gun when it's OP. Vicky, I don't know. But I think it's also just the fact that Havoc and Hemlock, they're just too cool. And I'm not sure. Even the mag didn't change it. So I wonder what's next. What's in store for the future changes of this weapon meta? Interesting question to ponder.
Maybe it's the rate of fire here. I always like to theory craft on like the different changes that could impact whether it be weapon classes or the legend compositions that we've been able to witness now change up in every region. But the Havoc was the weapon that I learned how to play Apex with before, back in my day, when we didn't even have a turbo, that there was no startup on the Havoc. So imagine one of those. And then I think the season after that, it was Spitfire meta. When you landed, you picked up a Spitfire. There you go. It was lights out. But you know, Drain Day talking about where these circles are pulling. It's going looking like a northern zone, but we theory craft some of these weapons. And I'm just saying, all right, when I was able to play in my first all-women's tournament and I was playing with Kyrie, I talked about the Rampage, okay? The Rampage sometimes slaps in the right hands. And I'm just thinking, it's just a matter of time before everybody sees what the Rampage is all about. And maybe a future buff would be crazy on a weapon like that. I can't wait. It's just about the weapon diversity that I love to theory craft, but I also like to craft up what Furia's got cooking in the kitchen, because currently right now they're one of our consistent squads sitting in 3rd place overall, and they've already found themselves in a building over here by Survey, with the Survey beacon being right next to them.
Yeah, fantastic stuff as well. I mean, this is where you want to be. They're on north side. They're in this building already. Yes, they've got the Pathfinder. It makes it a little bit, you know, you're not getting as much value from a Pathfinder when you are playing so early to zone, but he's going to have a lot of mobility here as well. So you got to think about it differently. No, you're not going to be probably rotating much, but if you need to grab an Evo cache, if you got to go out, check the next building, grab a shield battery, maybe a knockdown box from somebody who was rotating, got killed. Path is a great character to have to offset a little bit of characters who might be in that building, but won't have the mobility to get in and out like that. So we'll see how they can play it. FURIA definitely doing a good job. Trev Stacks as well. He says, no matter what map, no matter what time, no matter what game, I'm playing a Rampart, and we are making it work. Sentinel Iron Sights hits one, misses the other, and now he's got a little bit of pressure coming from him as well. He might have bitten off more than he could chew. Oh, this could be rough for CTE.
I was gonna say, define making it work here, ain't it?
I mean, well, I was saying he said that. I'm not sure exactly what happened.
You know what, though? I always appreciate the dedication when it comes to making and forcing something work. I said it a long time ago in one of our earlier broadcasts, where when you're rocking the Rampart and a Loba, you know what they're going for. You know they're looking to sit down pretty and end circle, not move a single inch, and just stay in that black market while all the death boxes come to them. Except in this case, on that force rotate, they landed right next to Tempr, and they get deleted with Native Gaming on the other side. So CCE has made an exit out to the lobby, and looking at the other squads that are still playing on the edge of the circle, KCP closer to Monument alongside NRG, who are right in front of them.
But we'll not miss another LAN. That's what Nox said. So far, He's doing good on that promise. Wants to continue pushing the limits. In RG, though. Great org back in Apex. And representing former XSET here. You mentioned Hodzic. I totally agree. Kind of, Mount Rushmore of coaches, analysts, really people who pioneered what it means to have that supporting roster outside of players. And it goes even deeper. It goes to managers. It goes to analysts. There's a lot of layers that make a successful team, especially in esports, that we don't get to see because we just focus on the three who are playing the game right here, Vicky. And that sometimes is a great thing. Sometimes, though, it doesn't do it justice, all the hard work being done around the scenes to support it.
Imagine going crazy. And I like how you highlight that, Rain Day, because we did put emphasis on coach, but Privacy, he's an analyst, which is very different than a coach. Not really trying to microplay the team that you're looking at, but rather talk about the changes and what that could equate for a team that has the natural skill to be the all-star team that we all know here. So going hand in hand with some of these other squads that don't have that talent on their own roster to provide that insight for them is a very different experience when you're essentially playing blind without an analyst or even without a coach here. As we take a look at Disguise, team still on blue. We're able to utilize that Evil Harvester right next to them, as well as perhaps a survey beacon. It's also so important for teams that are running the Pathfinder to already have that first level perk to allow them, the Pathfinder, to be able to get the scan that they need on a ring console.
It is one of the things that has shifted this meta so much. Just a small little touch on a perk to be able to have access to one of the class passives and normally wouldn't have access for. Fuse, Pathfinder, and of course some of the resets now available on assists and knocks. That's a big deal. So making that movement just a little bit more valuable, and also changing the meta. I feel like we've got also an opportunity here with E8 teams that maybe didn't get off to a great start to find a second wind because of how much this has changed in terms of legend picks. As we take a look at the overview, it's a Northern Circle. We knew that already. A lot of teams making their move. Skies Elevate still hanging back though, Vicky.
Yeah, and FURIA is still within their POI of survey, of just hanging out inside of that building, still making sure no other team has the opportunity to get a scan on that survey beacon. But it's about Tempr, who are also not giving up the information on Grandma's house here while looking at native gaming. It could be a little scary to sometimes rotate in that building very early, but with the right composition, you are able to not only make sure that nobody else has the opportunity to take your space, but then provide extra damage through the windows on squads that either they're flying around, native gaming on the other side, or even teams that are walking in through the choke closer to the south side by Monument.
It's a very difficult, I think, where Oxygen Esports are, and you talk about kind of passing over the bridge in a lot of different areas, having that ability to rotate cleanly here in this stage of the game when so many other teams are occupying positions that you want to be in. It's one of the hardest things to do. It balances on a knife's edge. If someone shoots you, if someone hits a great 30-30 shot, a few hemlock shots, a 3-2-1, your whole game plan is over. And there's none of these buildings left anymore. So how do you do it? It's a mixture of showing enough presence so where you don't become the only focus. It's also a mixture of not showing too much presence as well, so that you can find a way to kind of hang till some chaos gives you an opening to go ahead and put yourself in there and be safe. Oxygen right now maybe describing what I'm doing here, just as they're on that edge, they have to move in. It's nothing too threatening right now, but Vayne not seeing anything that he likes so far.
I don't blame him here too, because it's Spacestation that are taking some chunks out of them, but also I always feel finicky when this circle completely pulls over to the west side of Monument, north by Skyhook, and then you have to transition out of the epicenter side of this zone, because we usually see a collapse of all these squads, which are inevitably going to be Weave, C9, Liquid, right in front of Oxygen, and when they get around Epi, they always end up falling in that open space between Epi and the train tracks that Native Gaming have been holding down in that train cart, away from other squads that are looking at them from Monument.
And the other element of it too, that's a great point, Vicky. The other element is on the flip side, say you're running late, you die, you give the risk to not obviously being able to get into a spot like this. But if you're in a spot like this is where everyone wants to be. So while you might be the first 3 teams to get there, you are going to have to deal with 1, maybe 2 sieges on your space that you have to defend. And now you don't have as many resources and you are using those resources and you're not planning on moving anywhere else. So you've got to win those fights. It becomes a different type of battle. As you can see, pick your poison. Apex is dangerous either way. DSG lose Qzier. Design hits the zip line. He's going down. He's ready for a fight. He turns with the Havoc. He's going to hit those bullets. One down. Slayer falls. He's in the mother load. He gets right out. Design has a chance for the grapple. No need to use it yet, though. 8 seconds left. And still waiting. He's lost one. Could be alive with enemy, though, for a little while. And just being careful about how he's moving within this exhibit.
Especially when you're trying to take a fight like this with the circle closing in, it's inevitable for a third party to be waiting for you. And Flat's already holding that choke with Design having height with the charge of Sentinel. Can he make the magic happen here? He's got the grapple ready to go. If he gets a knock, he gets a reset on that grapple, but he doesn't want to give up this height no matter what.
Wow.
And he's feeling the pressure from the circle and the third party.
I think he's just got to see what can enemy do off of this. Enemy's taking the right angle. He gets one. That's Luxford. And there was a Seer. Design might be able to get picked up here. I think the pressure is gone. Enemy's still alive. You can see it's Zach, though, and just a couple of bullets. Now, Flat here, who are they going to play spoiler to? Is it going to be Zach? Is it going to be enemy? No, they say, oh, that's interesting, and they just let it happen. They run right by. Meanwhile, enemy trying to get up Design. He's going to have just enough time, and now Zach's got a big decision to make. It could be a 2v1 here. I don't think Zach wants that, but can he rotate now?
Does he prioritize the rotate, the reset, or are they going to be able to counter rotate while now Disguise are on the high ground? Design keeps getting griefed by the same knuckle cluster from Flat, who are currently holding the edge of the circle uncontested by another team. There may even be a fourth party coming in soon with how long this fight is going on for.
I mean, this is amazing, and they're not fighting Zach. So in the same way, he is in trouble just as much, but he's just under the radar. Eventually, they will have to move. Flat realizes that, and there's the pressure onto Zach. This is looking like the best case scenario. You split some KP, and maybe one of you makes it out around the other side. But certainly, it doesn't look like, well, maybe that was it. It seemed like it could be Zach went down. I think Design might have just zipped out.
They got out of all that chaos, and now together as a duo, Disguise are still alive. Weave, though, losing out on Lord of the Rings, looking to see if they could get the res. They have to disengage from the res while Carter hugs the gen right now, seeing if he can give the suppressed fire right through the exhibit. And it is Falcons who are closing in the gap. Hal was already one. He only had some shield to work off of. And FURIA, they sandwiched Team Falcons coming out on top. And this is the chaos that I truly dislike when it comes to exiting out of Epi. But it is inevitable as all these teams now collapse to follow up from FURIA.
FURIA uses everything in their power positionally to just make that a simple fight. Yet again, they're letting the game do the work for them. It was how they won game number 2. It's not going to be how they win game number 3, though. They do take, game 4, but they do take down Falcons in the meanwhile. And Oblivion and Blink stay alive to fight another day. FURIA go down in 13th, and DSG getting Qzier back up with KCP underneath them.
Oh, wow. And they're holding enemy, looking down his sight with the heartbeat passive from the Seer to see if anybody wants to contest him, but also noting what different direction they want to actually rotate around Disguise. Currently, Oblivion get eliminated, the team that was on the other side of that circle, while Flat still are alive by the choke north side that leads into Grandma's house. It is KCP that are on the bottom, on the low ground from Disguise after Disguise were able to get a reset.
On the Bangalore, using that ultimate accelerant just for the Rolling Thunder. It's such an important thing to have as a part of the team call, and that's why they prioritize giving him that ultimate charge. Still a little less than halfway before it's ready to use. 5th place for DSG. They're at the top left side of your corner, sitting at the south side of the circle. Flat is the one to their left, KCP the one to their right that they are fighting currently. But so far, they don't really need to move. This is a decent spot to hold. They've got 3 members up now. Maybe it's just a waiting game here.
Nobody wants to commit here when you're also stuck on the edge of the circle and at a positional disadvantage. We saw a very similar circle in EMEA earlier on, where Alliance had fallen in third, but they got sandwiched between two teams on the outskirts of Grandma's house by the crates. Great placement on the catwall, but this is the engagement that Oxygen is looking to utilize against KCP with the circle closing in right behind them.
Wow, KCP and Oxygen going at it. Disguised as well, probably going to try to third party or use this as an opportunity to move. They'll use it to move to a better position. That could have helped them more than they know. KCP will win this, but what will they be able to do? They've got the shield swaps. Can they reset? No, they're out. Liquid Alien, we're out as well. And it's DSG who took advantage of that chaos, played small, and just got to a better position so that Flat, who is rotating in, isn't able to take them down immediately, but they are still in the high ground. And now we're in our top 10.
And even with the lackluster loot from QZir, he was able to get a purple extended heavy mag, maybe shared or taken from the boxes to their south after the fight that collapsed right next to them. But even bigger, they're actually going to be able to taxi along to get the extra loot that they may need, while also contesting the squad that is trying to wrap around them. The biggest threat to Disguise right now is Flat, who are trying to contest them on the other edge of the circle. Luckily for Flat, though, they still have another rotate if they want to go in from the north side. C9 still in trouble as Chaotic is the last one alive.
Native Gaming go down. Arcane falls first. It looks like Snipe Down was last. And Vanity will also be eliminated. We've got 7 now, and it's really concentrated in 2 different areas. This house is 3 teams. NRG, Most Hated, and Tempr going at it. And they're still sharing that space. Stallions trying to get into it. I think it's a solo from Alberlelli. Holding the low ground, though. Maybe there's an opportunity for him. Fun. On the Knuckle Cluster, shooting to the left, running to the right. Him and Reptar, as a duo, gonna have to fight this one out.
Literally doing the dance, shim-shading their way off this low ground fun, looking to pop this med kit right here as a duo. Can they make the magic happen, knowing that Tempr NRG sharing that space with Alberlelli playing off this height here? It's inevitable with the circle now closing in the next 3 seconds. They have to make this move now, but Flat are also looking at this building, knowing that these 3 squads are here.
Impressed. All the teams that have made it here, some difficult rotations. Flat probably the easiest. NRG and Stallions and Tempr, they've just been fighting for their lives in this building. It's like, you know, trying to just see who's going to take that first step out. There will be a mass exodus, though, from the north. So keep your eyes here, because Tempr is going to have to move. How do they do it? Alberlelli is solo, alive, by himself, but just barely. He'll try to stay out of this conversation, just playing it low-key. As NRG decide to move, DSG still where we last left them, probably in the best position outside of Flat to win this game.
How low-key can you play when the exhibit was also called in? But there's other priority teams right now that Tempr need to focus on, and with the catwalk coming up, exhibit on every corner of this final zone, we are spraying and praying with the EVA 8, hoping that we find a shot. And Alberlelli with a zipline on top of the rock, stayed alive beyond Tempr. 4 squads remain. Alberlelli finally gets called out, and C9 still has a duo.
Top 5, not a problem. Alberlelli will take that one. Did a lot of work there. Chaotic. Stay naughty. It's DSG back on the other side. NRG has 1 remaining member in Reptar. And we've got Flat, who have maintained this high ground. It's been good positioning from them. Mambo, Nano Fries, Big Louie, trying to close this game out. And it seems like they might just be rotating onto C9. This duo trying to get rid of it. There's KP to be had. NRG, Reptar goes down. 3 squads left to decide it all.
And that was with Design in the Sentinel. It would take a literal miracle for Disguise to make today work for them. It would be crazy to see if they come out on top of another game, but a free res coming in from C9, uncontested, because nobody wants to overextend. If Disguise overextends, they get completely destroyed by Flat, who are coming in for a third party. So neither Flat or Disguise want to be the first team to make the move onto C9.
I mean, I'm surprised that Sorcerer made it to the ground. We are playing with Sentinels, though. There's some Volts, some Hemlocks, sure, but there's a few Sentinels out there, especially in the hands of Design. If he's still got bullets, that could change an entire fight. And expect, if they hit a big shot, oh my, speaking of big shots, for them to follow up, but Mamba, before they can even shoot, returns fire, hits for about 100. Flat going, is this the moment? Maybe we should push.
Oh, looking to see if they can get into a position. The smoke to their right, though, blocking out some side. Mamba gets deleted, having to drop down, though. Maybe he can get a reset here with some boxes right in front of him. But he then, in turn, gets focused on by C9. Exactly what they were avoiding. Flat falls to C9. The smoke providing some extra cover, but Design is on another one here, lacking some energy ammo, and he is looking to clean up what he started.
Look at this with the Havoc. It's just one magazine and 2 kills. Design and DSG take the win.
Design with those Havoc shots, and you saw C9 lit up and lined up like a shish kebab, ready for Design to just take some free shots on the Havoc. I mean, they were lit up with the sear tack right there. I can't. I mean, maybe
You're making me hungry. I
too.
had a kebab for lunch, I think, which is what's even funnier about that. You somehow knew. You're right. I mean, he lined him up. I was hoping for a sentinel shot, a little collat right there, and just ended up. But Vicky, you're right. I mean, they rotated. And what's interesting is like Flat rotated to try. They had the high ground. Then they rotated because they got a little bit of damage. Tried to maybe go for DSG. That's where the damage was. Then they got pulled back. During that chaos, though, they took a little bit of damage, had to shield battery, and now the closest team to them was heading down in C9, and it was a duo. So I think they decided to push this, but it just gave DSG that full high ground. And so as they did that little do-si-do, they found themselves on the bad end of it. And unfortunately, a really good game played. They just gave up their advantage. And that's some of the little things that really determine how things end up in Apex.
And let's also not forget, that was when Disguise, that was the game that Disguise was stuck in the sniper tower north of Landslide in the circle while they were getting gate capped from Flat from the very beginning. Flat wanted to fight Disguise for literally half of that game. As we take a look at the match results, because you know that Disguise was able to get a lot of KP on top of the dub, 9 kills. And with their 2 wins of the day, Rain Day, this could probably put them in first place.
I mean, what a story we are setting up. I think we could just stay cautiously optimistic here because they play today, they play tomorrow. DSG currently are last place team overall in North America, but 2 wins in 2 days would put them well in the top 10 and qualifying potentially, if not just for regional finals, a chance to do well in regional finals and qualify for LAN. That would be wild. But hey, crazier things have happened.
Honestly, I don't think we've ever seen that in ALGS history. We have to see how they do for these next 2 games, because that was our first game on World's Edge. You see a total of 21 KP. They are currently sitting in first place on top of Team Falcons after 2 dubs in their pocket. 43 total points for Falcons right now, sitting in second place. So they are trailing right behind Disguised.
One thing I do love about this is, you know, yes, we do see a little bit of points sponging at the top, but not as much as usual. Like a lot of times we've seen this North American lobby exactly like this, 70 points to Falcons, everyone else in this. You know, it feels like there is a lot of parity so far. And boy, it would be fun to see something momentous happen in the ALGS, like a team in last place qualifying and finding their spot in regionals and of course LAN. All of that coming up with 2 more games to play. Will Disguise start their run at history? Stay tuned. Battle Beaver is the official controller partner of the Apex Legends Global Series.
All right, y'all, we are ready. We are locked in for the final 2 matches of ALGS Match Day number 8 for North America. Vicky, you and I have been through a lot today, but we had to close it out in style. Rain Day was hoping for some DSG action, and we get a win on the game that I take off. So what's in store for us for the final 2 matches?
I honestly, all I'm saying is that crazy getting off the Wraith, going on the Pathy design. You know, there's things that change things up, make it very fresh for the rest of this squad. I saw Zainu in the chat saying, design, get off of Path, this is not working out for the rest of us. Well, guess what, he's got other things to say. With enemies staying alive, getting that reset, that meant everything for this guys, because they had the mobile respawn beacon Tiff to get their 3rd back.
Isn't that like kind of a copy of pasta of what we had witnessed in EMEA early on in that same exact zone, except where they were, it was Alliance getting effect back in before eventually Aurora swaying in. But regardless, it still worked out. The Rocks do what they do, and they just hold off on that cover. Even though C9 tries to kind of get Saucer back in and throw forward, DSG just held the same position that Stay Healthy had earlier today in EMEA. From there, they just kind of witnessed the rest of the lobby collapsing on each other, and this swing from Design, well, you called it what, like a shish kebab?
He lined them up like a shish kebab for real off that sear tack. It was beautiful lighting that up here too, because you just see everybody preemptively firing through the Bangalore smokes, not knowing where everybody is. But the process of elimination here, especially for the final zone, you know where they're going to be hanging out behind that rock tiff.
Yeah, I mean, someone just swinging with a Havoc. I mean, mind you, nerf. It was nerfed. No, it was just a rework on that mag size, let's be real, because everyone is still using it. The damage that it's outputting despite that mag reduction is crazy.
It's actually crazy. Now imagine if you have a gold extended mag to get the auto reload once you have to hoist it up. All right, enough nightmares here. Make sure you guys tune in to the FACEIT official multi-view streaming platform for the ALGS, guys. If you guys want to tune into your own favorite team listen-ins, see what everybody's calming about, so that way you too could take some notes and replicate that within your own rank games. This is the place to absolutely do it, because you get to hear how your favorite teams are able to make these rotates and take some of these fights.
And it's honestly some of my favorite things to do after an entire match day is to go back and rewatch certain games where you think those comms are going to be insane, because it's the one thing that I miss out, which is why I love listening so much, so we can really gear up and see what our players are thinking. But enough about that. We've got to hit into all the drop ships above our POIs, because match number 5 about to get underway.
Let's get started, Tiff. Match 5s are always my favorite here too, because this is the point where all these teams know where they stand in the overall standings for today and what more they need to do, especially if you're in Group A and this is your last chance. You don't have the opportunity that Disguise, on the other hand, has, since they have also tomorrow as a match point day that they can really try to elevate their current overall points.
And you can just think of the momentum that they'd carry in going into that double weekend match day. You think back to our prior ANC in round 2, Disguise only walked away with 8 total points on the day. And that was their best showing throughout Split 2 Pro League. So the fact that they found themselves in the leaderboard first place, 4 points ahead of Falcons after winning 2 matches is crazy. Design path diff, I just guess.
The Pathy. Is that what it was the whole time? We saw Zero in the chat basically saying, you know what, Design on Pathy, unstoppable. Where have you been, bruv? You have to really focus down on how some of these changes have allowed these teams to play into their strengths in different ways. And that's why I also love mid-season patches here too. As we take a look at the circle, Tiff, it may not be that northern circle that we were so used to seeing beforehand. Instead, this one may be pulling out towards the outskirts of staging closer to Landslide.
Ah, now you're recalling the ring guesser game for C9, who have found themselves at Harvester, kind of looking down the sights at CCE. Would be an interesting fight here this early on, as so many teams are vying to rotate towards that position you were calling out.
I like this spot here, but Trevstad having to drop away because they cannot hold that high ground currently, feeling that pressure from the team trying to approach them. It's going to be C9 going around the rampart walls. They're going to be able to also use that for free here because Oblivion are also right behind them, looking to see after hearing some shots if they can try to go in for a third party. And quickly with that rotate, I mean, they're still fully on white Evos, looking to see if they can get the Evo Harvester that is right next to C9 as Blink is on his way over there. The evac tower has allowed C9 to now reposition deeper into staging.
Yeah, and that makes sense, right? CCE, they start in staging. They didn't get a ring console. So pretty much immediately moving into Harvester, where that closest ring console is going to be for them to get that information. Weave on your screen already has it, starting to hit that evac tower and want to find themselves a solid position over by maybe Mirage Trois. And you can see they're going to call out Dorito building just on the outskirts of it. Now, yup, they land in Mirage Trois for World's Edge, and we'll just have to deal with starting there early. They've already moved out and have taken that catwalk rock area just north of where Weave has positioned themselves.
This is a great look here for FURIA to hold not only that high ground here, but if there was information on that platform like we've usually seen before on the south side of Mirage 12, they could deny that from teams like C9 who went ahead on that evac tower like we saw before and have found themselves north of staging side. Oxygen, a team that also needed to perform, are currently sitting in dead last with 4 points. And I say they needed to perform because they were sitting in 19th before starting today in the overall standings, and you need to be in the top 20 to participate in the regional finals.
It's really tough knowing that we've seen Oxygen have such substantial performances on LAN, but to even barely miss out on potential regional finals qualification because they are in Group A. This is it for them. If they fall out of that top 20, they are done in Split 2, and that's scary to think about.
And when you're on game 5 and you have 2 more games to go, your mental could absolutely be boomed here as, all right, for free. Snipe down, though, drop down. The Thermite going to be able to get that knock onto Nano. And with Snipe dropping down here, it's really Rambo playing off of this high ground. Trade for trade, looking to see if he can get the reset, and Snipe down, getting the trade onto flat. Surviving, and now they have the death boxes for some extra loot, hoping that there isn't going to be a third party around in the corner. And it doesn't look like there are any other squads in the area, which, by the way, the only squad to still be on the Gibby.
You'll love to see it, RKN, for sure. We had a lot of trust right there for Snipe Down to win that 1v1 on the south, because Rambo was like, I'm full send in the res. You win your ones, bro, or not, and then I'll have to deal with that. But for a nice reset there after flat. Falcons on your screen, currently in second place, just 4 points outside of DSG on the overarching leaderboard there. For them, they've got to get through Stallions if they want to get closer towards that Mirage Trois area. You're already being pinged by that survey beacon elsewhere. And chances are, if you're in a fight and there's a neighboring team that does get that survey beacon scan, we've seen it historically, we saw it in the EMEA early on, you will get full send.
Yeah, why not there too? Especially if you get the jump on another squad here. You get to see so many different zip lines in front of Falcons that they could take instead, so that way they could try to reposition. But it is crazy to highlight, with just a few points away from where Disguise is sitting in first, that Falcons, although they have been very consistently in the top 4 on Stormpoint, their best map, they haven't won a single game, and Disguise have won 2 games, are only leading the way by 4 measly points. That is crazy with Falcons and the way that they've been able to take these consistent fights.
Yeah, I mean, at the end, they don't really need to win any fights until they get to LAN and hit match point, right? They're already locked in for Mannheim, Germany. We'll worry about the wins then.
That's where it matters here, especially when you're sitting at match point. Got to practice how consistent you are in winning some of these games. As NRG, fun on the high ground, they've been able to call in the Bangalore ult, forcing Falcons now not only back away, but respect that space, because there's another team wrapping up behind him. It is Most Hated.
Ooh, all right, Most Hated. You're gonna have to get through Falcons. You do the brunt of the damage, rip the shields right off 2 of them, but they're gonna answer back with some bang ults of their own. The exhibit out forward. Dynasty just trying to find an angle if we can. Smokes on forward, doesn't see any angles coming on through, and is gonna join up alongside Laser and a Wope. The nades ticking all of that damage, but I just don't think it's enough to really focus and push on in.
It's gonna be hard here too because they're also getting destroyed in the distance. It's foul, but I know NRG were also trying to take some chunks out of them since they're the ones with the circle advantage and the height advantage. Lizerv goes down immediately afterwards. Zero gets hit by Knocked. It looks like at a different off angle. Did hear a charge of Sentinel as Stallions have taken the height on top of the sniper tower, and they still, with their backs cleared, looking at NRG who are right behind them, trying to capitalize off of what is left of Most Hated.
Yeah, Alb just taking the high ground while Retzi and Ram stay on the low ground. Alb pushes them straight into the open arms of Ram and Retzi, and they just clean up Most Hated. A definite clean team fight right there, but of course we need to focus on still moving towards the openness of Landslide, and you could honestly wrap into Countdown and go south, but I'm really curious to see where Falcons decides to push on into, because you've got Knock and Energy on the other side from Landslide. They're going to keep forcing them out of the way, but they've got that truck, they've got a couple supply bins over there for cover, but it's not something that's going to be substantial for long.
And the timing is so important in a fight like this too. This is exactly where the rotations at 0 megs comes into play, because if they do try to fully send it onto NRG while being at a positional disadvantage, you know that fight is going to take long, and Stallions, who are in Countdown, who they've noted could easily move in for a third party, could rotate right behind them. Luckily for them, Stallions have decided to prioritize the ring beacon and Countdown, and this is now giving space to Team Falcons to see if they want to counter rotate through Countdown side, or if they want to commit to this fight where Energy is sitting in Landslide.
Only a matter of time. Jen just chilling, doing what he does best. Hal and Zero just scouting forward to see where we want to go for fun. He's got that catwalk, the high ground of Landslide. Was hoping he could find angles onto the Falcons, but it doesn't seem like he's able to get something through. For DSG, 2 map wins so far on the day out of 4. That's a 50% win rate out of our series thus far, which is pretty cracked.
Oh, it's actually crazy here. The way that this guys have been playing thus far, and they've also been able to create so much different rotate options on the zip. All right, gotta get into a quick little grapple here, but let's jump into a listening with this guys as they are looking to their back to see if another squad wants to come in behind them.
They land on our shit. I'm a big hole.
Yeah.
Bang on. Do this grenade.
132 on bang.
Oh yeah,
Just make him drop.
Push on my ass. Batting. Don't take it, go.
Yeah. Team behind shooting too. Be careful.
Continue.
On Q.
Cartoon.
Play on my side.
Oh, go double tweaking.
I'm the best.
Zero. No, you're dropping.
The grapple and run, and this team is in hot pursuit of design. If he falls here, which he does, it's gonna open up the leaderboard for Team Falcons to grab that #1 spot. Liquid Alienware, sitting in 7th place overall, have thrown down the Dark Veil to divvy them up. Because we got Niazul on the low ground, Native is coming running out, sniped down an RKN, just waiting. Do we throw the defensive bombardment? Where do we hit it? The high ground it is.
They fully sent it out, at least on the high ground, to boot them out there or maybe get some information. The evac tower that Snipe had sets them up to take high ground, but guess what? They're fighting ghosts. There is nobody left there because Team Liquid, with the quickness, have already rotated as a duo because they know they're not only at a disadvantage, but they needed to take some time. It was Nizul who had to pop a med kit before they made a rotate. But off that evac tower, now they know that they're going to get chased by Native.
Oh, 100%. You would not be surprised. Niazul opens it up, actually grabs a knock onto Snipe elsewhere. So you may have tried to wake the bear, but you're going to get punished. Regardless, let's see what SSG is up to and jump into a listen in with them.
I just want to watch
Just be able to clear this whole side, I kid you not.
Can you come?
Yeah, we're coming.
I'm waiting for you.
They might mirror us, bro.
What's your hands?
They definitely won't.
Nah, don't fuck off, bro.
Up here, pair. Come on, might be sliding down.
I'm 69 on fucking.
Yeah, I'm walking right.
Don't me
I don't have one. Someone evac on the left. Careful of that.
I don't have zip for 70. We can evac here too, Phony. We can evac in this corner.
Just watch our
We
back.
just try to get further. I don't know about third. We just try to get.
Someone close right.
That's all you guys. I need to hold our back.
Like ran back.
Okay, I'm gonna hold our back, motherfuckers, because this team can still wrap us.
Okay.
You want to evac from here or no?
Yeah, we definitely have to evac. We can evac.
We could evac. What do you think we should go? How do you think about it now? So we don't just
like bridge, somewhere near bridge
side.
Probably like in like a cart.
Yeah. Yeah, that cart's pretty good too.
Yeah, the top cart for sure. How's it looking?
Here, where you at, Funny?
Team over here. You good?
On the height.
Thank you.
A bit of indecision there for SSG as they may be fighting ghosts like you mentioned. They did sense a team elsewhere. Regardless, the native gaming push did come through. They unseat Liquid Alienware, but the job's not done. NRG getting collapsed upon.
There's a good attempt from Liquid Alienware right there to try to get that res, but with that fight done and dusted and allowing native gaming to come out on top, we're looking at NRG on top of these tracks, trying to contest so many other squads in the area. Look at that motherload for motherload. If it isn't the exhibits making the Venn diagram, it's got to be the Fuse ult instead. NRG losing out on Reptar though, who's been having a rather difficult day thus far. Even with Knock getting the knock originally with the thermite, he is forced to slide away. Hopefully they can try to get a reset, but wrapping around here now, that is Falcons and Stallions looking at them.
Yeah, you can only get so far. Knock will be last standing for the NRG roster on the opposing side as Falcons have finally moved into this. We're going to throw out the Arc Stars. You can see where that circle is inevitably pulling to, and Yup called it to perfection. Elsewhere, Weave deals the finishing blows over towards Knock, and NRG, well, they've fallen.
In 15th, nonetheless, Team Falcons with the reset and not giving up this truck because they know that Stallions are neighboring them right alongside the fact that this was a similar rotate that both these teams had taken exiting out of Landslide, while currently CCE, they've built up their little house with the rampart walls. They are not going anywhere. It is protection on that black market to get the necessary equipment that they need for that next circle, while Falcons lose out on 0. They're able to try to take this fight, and they do find a crack on the other side.
Ooh, 0 down, but Hal looks to answer back. Jen falls as well, and Hal might just be covered. Turns his attention to the guy forward, has someone in the cross, and Falcons have fallen. That means Disguised still at the top of the leaderboard. They were potentially able to hold on to it. Slayer finds himself in the cusp of the rest of this fight. Gets a full heal off. We're remaining. We've got the exhibit in pocket should we need it.
Especially if it tries to get information on any third parties coming in. Elevates, try to find that last stragglers. Grappling away, but now taking control over these the train trucks inside of the middle, as Stallions are still going to be able to poke at Elevate, the evac tower that was called in from Elevate, to see if maybe they could get ahead on where that next circle is pulling, because we are moving on top of where we had seen Yup at the very beginning of the game. The choke that exits out of Thermal, as Yup have not given up this high ground.
And Native Gaming have nowhere to go but forward. And as soon as we move from this rock, we're going to be into the eye lines of Yup. And they want to defend this at all costs. This is going to be their biggest threat to win condition. So RK and Rambo Snipe Down have one of the biggest tasks. So what do we have in terms of utility resources for this engagement? Well, Snipe Down, we've got the exhibit. I don't really see too many nades. You don't have any bats or med kits. So it's not like you can take a lot of damage because you're going to be forced to slow heal. And Dupe on the high ground is already poised and ready to make a play.
Getting a little bit of deja vu here from Yup after their performance in their last match day. Now looking to try to take the dub and holding God spot at the moment for a circle like this, while making sure that they also don't get thirded by C9, who are right next to Native beyond this choke. As you can see them currently situated, Native also have noted that there is a team on the other side of this rocks, but the moment that Native shows her face, this is going to be really difficult. They could get the information of the neighboring teams thanks to Snipe Down being on Seer and having that exhibit, but there's not just one squad looking at them from height, which is Yup. It's going to be C9 on top of it.
Ooh, Cloud9 needs a good game here to kind of turn their series around, but turn the attention over to the low ground. Elevate Gaming getting into the fray of things. Luxford gets fried, forced to take at least 10 to 15 seconds to focus on that shield bat. Zach has the passive that's going to allow him to be able to give better calls out towards those teammates, sharing the bats around. And so far, we are not getting a full send, but you can just hear the rev up of the mother load that wants to come out. C9, they've got their good barricade. The fence is out, but it's going to be Native Gaming that is going to have the attention of Cloud9 and Yup, and we still have to move forward.
I mean, this is where it really comes to play. Imagine if Arcan was a catalyst right now and had wall, where you could isolate both teams with a cat wall and then the fuse motherload on top of Yup. But they have the Gibby instead. They probably have the perk that makes Gibby's bubble even bigger, trying to see if they can close in that space here in unison with the exhibit and the motherload coming in.
Yeah, but you're going to expend so much. And then you hope that you have ult excels to get your abilities back for that final end game. For now, we're still trying to prey along the outside of that cliff. The mountain, but you get caught out. Snipe down, goes down. Native Gaming gone before they could even breach out of that choke.
They poked their heads out for 1 second and immediately got deleted out here as Dupe still maintaining Pride Rock, making sure that C9 doesn't get a free walk in here while Space Station playing very close to the zipline. Tempr on the other side of the low ground. Here's a catwall on the other side. Stallions get eliminated in your feet, and Tempr are looking to make a move inside this building.
Straight on to where Elevate was playing, but SSG from the low ground also. They're getting tagged up by all the teams that have found themselves on the upper side. So you've got to keep eyes out on that. CCE, we've got a lone member standing, just playing. No one looks at them. And C9 and Yup reigning supreme. Well, we talk about the last member from CCE, and FURIA finds him.
And able to get the reset here too. Gonna be able to get the res, and there's a death box for a quick Evil Shield swap. Elevate get eliminated, and there are 4 squads remaining. FURIA, Space Station, Yup, and C9. C9 and Yup, the only 2 that currently have height right now, but FURIA have a Pathfinder, so they could easily try to retake this high ground if they find a third-party opportunity.
Yeah, I'd be really curious to see which of these teams is going to try and make a move first, right? You've got Watsons on both Cloud9 and Yup, so you've got the fences that are trying to kind of hold them steady from those pushes, but we need to see. Prodigy Aces, it's not like he could throw out the bang ult onto Cloud9. They've got the Jenny down. Then you've got SSG on the low ground, and there's FURIA elsewhere. But Yup and Cloud9 have to eventually duke it out.
Having their own little party here as a duo. Looks like they're in some trouble, but FURIA cannot commit to that fight. They need to stay on the high ground now that the final circle is closing in. They called in a Moby, it looks like, just to build up some space here for them. Evac Tower as well called in right behind them to see if this team could force their way on the high ground. Yup, are not taking their eyes off of C9 right next to them.
Ooh, okay. We love some G7 scout moments. It got a damage buff, albeit it only moved from 32 to 33. But if you're popping headies, it's a good way to force that damage on. You see FURIA full sending Cloud9, and if Yup can just hold off and not allow SSG to take that zip to high ground, this could be a solid game for them to win.
But they've been playing this so patiently that Oblivion is still on the blue Evo, probably very close to leveling up that Evo shield, but FURIA will full purples now, looking to stay alive as a duo here, taking the high ground currently, and are looking to fully send it. They can isolate Oblivion Dupe.
They need to take down FURIA here. Prodigy, you cannot fall. Has to pop a Phoenix kit. That's 10 seconds. And you're saying that FURIA is not going to use that time to their advantage to full send Yup. Madness gets absolutely annihilated and just trying to hold on. 10 HP. SSG, the ones to take out FURIA. And here comes Yup. They clean it on up and take match number 5.
For free here for Yup here as well, because nobody was going to contest them from height that they've been holding tips since the very beginning of the game. But a huge dub for Yup to put them on the right path after an explosive match day where we saw them take the first place spot in their match day.
Hold on, Vicky. I just gotta say something real quick. Dupe has one of the only Watson skins that I never got, and I need it right now. I need it. We need to have that moment. No, it's fine. It's fine. I'll worry about that later. But congratulations to Yup. I said the majority in the pre-show that they get a lot of their eliminations on World's Edge. They only acquired, I believe it was 1 on Storm Point. So knowing that their backs are against the wall, if they want to carry out that momentum from their match day victory, that it had to come down to World's Edge. And if you land Mirage Etoile and the circle is coming your way, then you need to set up and make sure that you do your damn best to convert that to a victory.
And they did just that. And that's even going to translate amazingly going into our final match of the day, because let's highlight that the performance that Yup was able to get off of topping their last match day put them in the top 20. They are still in the cusp because they were sitting in 20th place overall before starting today's matches. Yup take the dub with only 4 KP, with Space Station trailing right behind them with double-digit kills.
Yeah, SSG was kind of reaping on the low ground, right? We saw Elevate fall, we saw Tempr fall in CCE as well. Now, granted, CCE, that last elim went to FURIA, but it was enough to put them on double digits for SSG. Cloud9 had the high ground across from Yup, and they were going to be that biggest threat. Had FURIA not fully sent Cloud9 there, which you called out, you were like, look, when you've got a Pathfinder and Keon wanting to get Mixie, you knew that was a very real potential. Things could have definitely changed, but as you move towards that back half of the leaderboard, Native Gaming, you know, yes, their efforts got thwarted trying to rotate in behind Yup and Cloud9, but they walk away with 7 eliminations.
Yeah, that's still amazing here. Putting extra points on board. Aside from that 1 placement points, you get a total of 8 coming out of that KP. Even KCP, Vanity, it was a lot of chaos from the squads that had to rotate over from the east side of the map through that landslide, through the train track tier 2. As we take a look at the top 3 performances from our teams, Spacestation, 10 KP, 3k total damage. The same thing here for Yup with in terms of damage output, but they couldn't give up that high ground no matter what, which is why we saw the likes of Oblivion still being on Blue Evo for the end game.
Oof, and then you throw the top 3 teams, all their damage, the kills. SSG, you've got Zainu with 5 and with only 1,000 damage. Can we just talk about efficiency right there? Because typically we'll see people with like 2,000 damage and not that many kills because you know they're just opening that up for the rest of their team. But no, we're being efficient with that as we move on to the series results. And Vicky, are you seeing what I'm seeing?
Oh, it is a lot more tight than I was expecting it after we saw the action on Storm Point. FURIA had taken the first place spot over Disguise with now 52 points, leading the way with a little bit of a gap between themselves and even Team Falcons, but Spacestation also right behind it with just a mere few points away.
Yeah, the top 5 are incredibly close with only, I believe, like 9 or so points separating them. So with only 1 more match to go and everything up for grabs, we'll just have to wait and see how it plays out after this break. It's time. Let's lock it in. 1 more match that is going to decide who is going to be advancing on to the regional finals, at least for Group A, right? If you're Group C, you get to play again tomorrow alongside Group B. But for now, this is Group A's last chance.
That's why I'm a little sweaty right now, looking at Oxygen and the lack of wiggle room that they have to work with here. They have to definitely pop off for this final game. Or are we going to get some similar action to our last match day where Yup had taken the final game on World's Edge, setting them on top. But they did take game number 5 confidently, holding the best spot that they could play in, game-winning spot with 4 KP before FURIA were also able to clean up what was left of the teams on the low ground.
Yeah, they hit the zip line. They find CCE. SSG makes a play, tries to clean on up on Elevate, just barreling on in. Now, if you kind of separate back on up, you see the exhibits come through, and Yup do everything that they can to really defend their territory up here on this high ground. Now, granted, had FURIA not full sent Cloud9, this could have been a different story. However, you know, FURIA, they hold on. SSG tried to make a play even further, but Yep withstood, and it moved them up to 8th overall on the leaderboard.
Absolutely huge. Can they do it again, or is Disguise just gonna come out from left field? We have to see, because it is incredibly close looking at the top 5 currently right now. Just to reiterate, for those of you guys who missed the overall standings, FURIA are currently sitting in first with 52 points, Spacestation with 48, Disguised 47, a 1-point difference, all the way down to Team Falcons with 45 points. Even KCP Tiff with 43 points trailing right behind. It is this final game that literally determines if FURIA stays in the #1 spot.
Ooh, all right. I mean, look, there's just 9 points separating 1st through 5th place. It's kind of crazy to think about this. Now, we had that Mirage à Trois zone, and then we had the Monument ending. I feel like we're just missing a thermal station zone. It's been a very long amount of time before I have cast over a thermal station endgame, and I need it. I don't think it's happening, but I need it.
I heard a theory from Snipe Down in this podcast that he's realized that these zones just do not pull over lava, and you know, it just off of that observation, you know, it definitely, I've seen it. We've been able to see that with how these circle pulls have been working, but that would be a miracle. We have to see how that tries to play out here and where this circle will be pulling. But I do, you know what, I am expecting maybe a northern zone here. We've got to see which side, whether it may be another grandma's house zone. But it is also nice to note, Tiff, what we haven't seen thus far is a bonus point going in favor for a team, and with Disguised having 2 wins, maybe, just maybe, it is possible if they take the dub this final game.
I mean, one can hope. You would, if a team needs it, it's gonna be Disguised, right? Throw down 26 points to where they started the day on, and it could really change the tides of their qualification for regional finals in particular. And then you just got to win a match point regional finals against some of the gnarliest teams in North America. I mean, how hard could that be, right? Like,
especially when you have to deal with a lobby that is Falcons, who've already secured their ticket to Germany. So now looking at what these other teams need to do, especially the squads in Group A, it looks like we are going over to the Northeast Tiff. This is pulling closer to Overlook and could absolutely benefit NRG since they have the Ring Console and the Evil Harvester on the outskirts of their POI.
yeah, NRG should be able to find themselves in a position for the long game on this. Another team that I know knows how to play zones like this is going to be Cloud9, who have already centered themselves up in one of those neighboring choke points outside of No Name. Now, they probably recognized this immediately and were like, okay, we're so used to dropping Overlook historically. We know how to play these end games. We just have to get there.
It's going to be hard here to also hold this down when you know that teams are going to be trying to rotate through the tunnel side of Geyser, but holding this back end and denying the Ring Console information from the squads that will be making that southern rotate is going to be big here for NRG, especially since they need to show up right now. They're sitting in 13th place overall, especially with the individual talent that we know that this team has.
For sure. I mean, look, in 13th place overall, they've got a plenty of time and effort in this last game to really make the most of it. Because even a 10-point game puts them at 30 points and inside maybe like 9th or so place. Anything more than that, then we just need like a double-digit elimination win for them if they want to break into the top 7.
It's crazy. Again, there's just so many different teams that could really have that pop-off opportunity here, as Reptar is also trying to scout ahead, see if anybody else wants to go in for a quick rotate through this tunnel side, because Pioneers are in the mouth of that tunnel, as well as Oxygen, who have already rotated quickly through Geyser's side. And with these evac towers, Flat are also making appearance, jumping right on top of Madness.
Oh, Furia, this is not what you need to have happen here. Now with Keon kind of remaining alongside the other duo, if I'm Flat, I am going to be holding on for dear life, because you are going to have all the knuckle clusters coming your way. But look at Chaotic from C9. He picks up a knock onto Furia's Keon, so they are just getting pieced apart.
The knuckle clusters, Fuse truly a professional Grim Reaper himself out here, having to literally reset somewhere else because you were in the line of sight of that knuckle cluster. But I would love to see Madness's point of view the moment that Flat just all together as a 3-man dropped right on top of him. Furia were able to get Keon back up. Vaxlon's still alive, but now having to forcibly play this out as a duo.
Yeah, that one's gonna be dicey to deal with. Slayer full running away from a crazy Pathfinder named Designful, which is an opening to a very gnarly horror story. So far, quite reserved. Does have the gold mag on the triple take. And he's got a wingman in tow for this game. I don't know what Design is doing, but obviously he's cooking.
You know what? The wingman in hand, very characteristic of Design here too, and he's also always on top of these snipers. We saw him rocking that Sentinel early on when Disguise had taken the dub, and now looking to back away here too, but not gonna be able to beat the Wraith allegations out here with a weapon loadout like that, as he's gonna be able to back away and call out a different rotate. Seeing the squad that is right in front of them, I believe that was Elevate being by staging on by their POI, but they were looking to see if maybe they could have gotten a survey beacon. So opting to now wrap around through tree, the next survey beacon in their line of sight is gonna be Harvester with a ring console alongside that.
Yeah, all but 5 teams, Vicky, are currently in the next zone, and Flat have finally decided that, you know, taking down Madness wasn't going to be enough for them. Let's see what Yup is all about. They grab that knock onto a Zivian and just kind of look to clear out this space in No Name. My only issue with this is because there are so many teams that have found themselves in such a tight vicinity, is that the moment you full send something else, you could get punished. And Nano has kind of found himself still outside the building. Mamba gets clipped through the door. This situation is pretty tough to deal with.
He peeked for 2 seconds and got obliterated by a triple take. And I know that Nano is had it with all the fuses that he's been pressured out. Thankfully, he was able to reset here as Alberlele stuck in the middle of a mother load, having to back away, but the tick damage of the mother load dealt just enough to knock down Alberlele. That is how on the other side of the fuse cannon, and Falcons are looking to engage.
Oh no, look at Zero just waltzing on up towards where that zip is. He's like, is it okay for me to try and zip? He smokes it on out, and I know he is just waiting to see how they're going to full send it. Of course, they know enough time had passed for Alb to get reset. And in just about 8 more seconds, once he pops a med kit, he will be back to full health. I don't think it's in their best interest to push, considering you already used the mother load, and we're gonna have to farm those ult excels to get your ultimate abilities back into the mix. But a res coming through in No Name, Vicky.
Sorry, it's not going to be FURIA here. No, it's going to be Dupe instead here, keeping the dream alive for Yup right now. They've lost out on a Civian. It doesn't look like they were able to get that banner originally. They will be able to get it currently right now, but they're in the line of sight of the other squads that are in the area. Tip, you highlighted it before, but there's about 5-6 other teams that are coexisting here by No Name.
We need a Jenny here and now, and we don't have it. Here comes the full send. We delete Nano, and we could get a shield swap out here, but that's why those purple knockdowns can be so disgusting to work around. Yup has been eliminated, and Big Louie last standing for Flat.
That was all because he poked outside of his own friendly knockdown to the last hit of the Arcslar, doing just enough to take out that final player who was one in the inside of that train cart. Now the exhibit has been called in, and you want to take a fight so bad here over to the other side. Well, look at the bridge on the north side of Epi. It's going to be Stallions versus Most Hated, with Spacestation neighboring them.
Okay, Dynasty already on red, wanting to open things up and get some eliminations for the squad, but Spacestation, look, in second place overall on the day. Want to do what they can to get a match day win here elsewhere. We see that the Falcons have found themselves potentially in some trouble as one goes down. Tempr, Adavant gets that shield core swap, but is only about 50 HP. There goes a remainder.
Oh,
and we can focus on the med kit, but job's not done. We've got to keep on moving.
Team Falcons are out. They have died now in 17th place. Our team that was in the top 5, that was them finishing off with 45 points, maybe a little extra here if they were able to get that KP before they were taken out. But look at this north side of the circle. They were caught in the middle with Stallions and Tempr, looking at the direction that they wanted to originally rotate from. And all these teams, like Liquid Alienware, that have been waiting in Overlook since the very beginning of their POI, are going to be able to look both sides between NRG and Native before transitioning into that next zone.
Ooh, and with the bounce back to Frag, even where SSG has found themselves on the bridge outside of Epicenter, it completely changes the course of match number 6, because NRG playing from that Overlook area was like, oh yeah, cool, we're gonna be just fine here. Mom, joke's on us. We get a complete opposite zone pool.
actually giving the teams that hard predicted the outskirts of Overlook whiplash. Now you're gonna have to deal with the teams that have already found their spot, whether it be Frag East, and I think there was only one team that I called that out earlier on, and that was Vanity. Disguise are trailing right behind him, so the stream is still alive, but Spacestation losing out on Koiful with only Phony here coming into the rescue. Zyno holding a different side, but he took that fight by himself, and he needed Phony to be ahead there.
Oh no, if SSG falls here, you think about the top of the leaderboard, Disguised are still up, and SSG can fall. Now that Falcons have fell, and they were sitting, I believe, around 4, you look towards all the teams that can make the moves. It's Pioneers, it's Disguised, it's SSG, and FURIA, well, they're still up and at it and holding on to the first place for now. For Elevate Gaming, who, like I said earlier, have been so good at finding these early to mid-game eliminations on triple red, trying to find some angles on the outskirts of Epicenter.
I'm gonna call this early, Tiff, that Disguise having a survey beacon now and being uncontested on their side of the circle may be within the top 3, may even take this game in their position, because all the other teams to contest them in this top 5 are going to be in the majority of the chaos on this rotate. Now looking at Elevate with full red evos, they have the height over this hilltop, dealing with Most Hated right behind them, and they were looking out for the straggler that was Spacestation as they were able to get out of that argument.
This is where I wish we had Dia and his telestrator, because look at this. The bounce back directly into Frag East, kind of like you called, where Vanity had found themselves. This is going to be interesting. Now, if this was EMEA and Passion UA were playing, we know which building they would already be in, one of those southern Frag East buildings. But for now, none of them are occupied. FURIA needs to grasp hold on one because Disguise is going to look to take the horizontal building next to Vanity.
That FURIA versus Disguise is going to go absolutely crazy. Huat is dropping an Evo Shield just so that Wayne Nizul could swap that very quickly here too. Very quick, actually. He's going to be able to look for the health reset, but coming out on top and being able to hold this low ground, they know the teams that are waiting for them up on the high ground, but this is going to be a very tricky rotate. They could play by the edge, but we know how many squads are waiting at the outskirts of the mouth of the tunnel.
I'm a little worried about their rotation. Not gonna lie. FURIA, though, you got the train station here, DSG. Still holding onto that for now, keeping your eyes forward. Onto that south. FURIA do inevitably move into that building kind of like they needed to do. It'll be the next one just inside where that circle pulls to. There's not going to have that information, but it's one of the only free remaining buildings in Frag East since they got here first. The remainder have to come from the east and then the north, and that east rotation is going to be tough. NRG is going to have to pull from the south side of No Name and wrap around, but then your question is, what is Cloud9 going to do? And then finally, Oxygen Esports shows up.
Better late than never. It's got to happen eventually here too, and this is going to be a rotate for Oxygen that could absolutely benefit them, because if you look at Disguise and their legend composition, they don't have a catalyst like Oxygen. They don't have a control legend, but Oxygen lose out on Vayne in the circle. They are taking way too much damage. This round 3 absolutely takes chunks out of your health, but hey, currently Frex was able to find a corner to survive off of. It looks like Aiden cannot commit to saving Vayne because he would take way too much damage here until Vayne finally, by the edge of the circle, is able to crawl to safety, and they are going to be able to get that res with Disguise nearing right alongside them. You see Design trying to call him out because he heard some noise by streamer building.
Ooh. All right, keep your eyes on it. The fact that we even get Vayne back up is pretty crazy. I didn't think we were going to be able to secure that. DSG starts poking. Here comes the Dark Veil, and Design is down. Now QZer and Enemy are going to have to essentially 2v3, and we've already got 2 cracked. Enemy needs to go hard on the low ground. Here come the frags. They could really turn this around.
Okay. Oh, the beams?
Wait.
Oh. They got the dirty there too. QZer, it's up to you. The cat spikes here too. It is putting on way too much pressure. Disguise go down. The jinx, but better yet for Oxygen, they needed that. They were literally on the cusp. They have not shown up at all this match day, and they take out Disguise. But this also keeps FURIA alive in the running.
FURIA in the next zone, alive at the top of the leaderboard. It could be the day of FURIA for Elevate on the outskirts here. Have that evac tower, not going to take it. But Luxford gets completely taken aback.
Oh no, and now as a duo, Elevate Slayer dropping down, giving up that height. Zach being able to grab the banner, but what do you do here? You're also lacking on energy ammo here too. Look at his Havoc. He's got 89, 88 in the reserve. Currently now having to play off this low ground and see if they could pray for a miracle as they make their rotate towards the Moby that is right on the outskirts of Fragment East.
I don't think there's enough time to hit the res there. I think we play it out as a duo. You focus on getting into that next zone. Most hated mirroring right behind you. Stallions kind of dead center to the north. Still have to push more to Fraggies, but they don't want to give up high ground just yet. For the teams coming out of that eastern side, NRG and Liquid Alienware throwing down the Dark Veil. There goes Reeds, and well, time is of the essence, and Liquid Alienware takes out Oblivion.
Huge here for Liquid Alienware too, as Yanya is going to be able to pop that shield bat, though right before another player comes in right behind him, right on the outskirts of the zone, sliding into what they don't want their DMs to be. Onmu is the last one alive from KCP, and NRG are looking to profit, but they're feeling pressure from the other teams in the distance.
We have someone to thank for the push that we just witnessed from NRG onto the remaining members of Pioneers, and it's Retzi with the longbow. NRG back down to a solo, and if Pioneers get a clean reset out here, we could have a new leader, Vicky.
I cannot believe the way that this final game is playing out right now. Currently, the action happening in Fragment East has also not slowed down as expected, but there's a lot of areas to coexist in, and there is that rap from Spacestation still trying to keep the game alive for Spacestation, as Vanity are in that building alongside Stallions, Most Hated, trying to deter Elevate as a duo who are forcing their way into that next circle.
Yeah, keep your eyes on the north, like you say. I mean, look, that's where all the things are they're going to occur. But Nock has to make a play, has to hit a rotation as a solo. But we say, wait, I'm here for you.
Wait, is he going? If Nock steals that Moby that was put down by Elevate, that would be huge here. But that's if Nock doesn't get called out by the duo that is also right alongside NRG, the solo of that Nock is trying to keep that dream alive here. See the Moby right alongside Most Hated, seeing if maybe Elevate could pull off a miracle here.
I love robbery, right? Like, I think that would be great. Unfortunately, NRG has fallen, and well, did Pioneers pick up another elimination? For Most Hated on the inside in 16th place overall. A good ending to the day would be just what they need, even for Weave.
Oh, peekaboo. Open up the door, trying to bust in right there. That was scary. And now through the window cracks, they could take chunks out of them. Do they want to capitalize off of this fight, though? Very tricky, because if they take too long here, you know the third party is waiting.
How many exhibits did we have down on the entire map right there? Was that 3? Well, this is looking like the Apex Legends of old, where every team had locked in a seer, thanks to the old school FURIA and his Watson and them getting crazy when they realized what they could do with Seer. Regardless, still not a top pick. We'll leave Bangalore at about 95% for the time being. For now, we'll set up shop here in Frag East, as FURIA has found themselves coexisting alongside of Weave, and Most Hated still on the outskirts.
And Elevate was able to use that Moby, by the way, to get their solo back. So now they are a full 3-man squad, and they are holding onto the roof, looking down at Most Hated.
They needed that. I need that for Elevate, right? They were on the fringe coming into match day number 8. They were a team that needed a must-do performance to get themselves at least into regional finals. Last time we checked it with Most Hated, they had all 3 up. Now we've lost a Wope. And for Onmu, who has fallen, incoming frags towards the roof, sky nades galore. 4 eliminations for them is not bad, but Elevate, they found themselves on the roof of Diner. FURIA still in that coexisting with Weave, but they need to take them out. LOTR, Arcstar in hand, waiting to make a play.
Now this is going to be the hard part with 7 squads left. The final zone closing in right behind Weave, currently trying to make their next move while coexisting with FURIA on the high ground here. Oxygen uncontested in their building by Fragment. But we know there's so many different ledges to play off of, where we currently saw Elevate on top of the roof if they do want to jump on top of that other building.
SSG still alive. FURIA, your leaderboard at the top right now, still in the mix. But for now, Weave could play spoiler to a lot of those teams, in particular FURIA. but we do need to keep moving. SSG elsewhere has fallen as Elevate has decided to full send oxygen.
Trying to contest here too while trying to play very slow, getting information off the Sierra attack. Exhibit called in, but Carter doesn't have his just yet. He's about to have it at 96%. Looking at a different corner, the heartbeat sensor tells him exactly where that player on the outskirts is sitting.
All right, here we go. We've got to exit this building somehow, but hello, surprise! Maybe we should have opened things up with a few frags of our own before we jumped on out, right into the open arms of Madness, who grabs that initial knock. 5 squads remaining. Now, granted, this could be some of their first eliminations. Weave has fallen, and the onslaught continues. Okay, Keon, it may not be from your setup, but you did just enough to hold on to that. Now, Elevate from the high ground, the mother load, taking up all of the entire ring as the players just burn. Elevate, after that reset, take match number 6.
Making miracles happen when they were put in probably the worst position. They were down a teammate, gave up height that overlooked Epi into Frag East, called in a Moby that knocked as a solo had to pass, and were able to get the res and height over that final circle. What an amazing play from Zach Mazer and the rest of the squad.
That final circle was insane. I feel like you need to go back and look at a free cam shot of it because you have the dark veil just dead center. You've got smokes, and then in comes Elevate, right? Mother load in hand. Doesn't even care that we just waltz through the dark veil and have no sights, because at the end of the day, we're just throwing down the mother load. We're getting basically all the information from the other teams, and you just see them kind of all like on top of each other on the other side. You're just like, I've got this.
It's free. It's free for them to work off of there too. With the cat wall right in front of them, they were able to also play off the height that they eventually had to drop down in. The rest of the squad remaining in the lobby were fighting right in front of them, and it was just free pickings for Elevate, because I believe they were lacking a little bit on kills, either 4 KP or 5 KP, but it's the dub at the end of the day to close out the day for Elevate.
Ooh, and you know, that has to make a huge move on the leaderboard for them, because what were they, like 20th, 21st coming into today? And it's like you needed to do everything that you could to even get into regional finals. Now, granted, North America, you've got 12 slots for split 2 playoffs. So if you can secure yourself top 20, you play again in regional finals, knowing how the points are so close in the upper echelon of the leaderboard that just getting into regional finals could be enough for you, and having a solid day like you did today and then just doubling down. You could be in Mannheim, Germany in just what is it, like a month and a half? 2 months?
Time flies by. It's literally right there. It is right there. But it also puts into perspective the way that we're seeing these different legend compositions, what we may be able to see going into split 2 playoffs. But that was a really big end game for Elevate, considering that they were tied in 20th with Yup, and that dub alone probably elevates them in the overall standings as we bring back Rain Day to break down the action, because in that final game, my eyes were on FURIA, they were on Disguise, but it was Elevate that came back with the res.
It was amazing into this game, because you did have 4 different teams vying for a chance to get first place, all significantly impacting their hopes for playoffs and, of course, regional finals. And a great point as well that you brought up, you know, and I think it was Tiff who was saying this, just the fact that you do have a chance to get more points in that regional final. You don't have to win it. Maybe you get second place. That 21 points, though, for second place counts to finish you into that leaderboard, and hopefully that could be the push a team like Elevate will be looking. And yes, tied for 20th, currently sitting right on that edge. This is a big day for them. But, you know, KCP, SSG, FURIA, you know, they all had a chance to win this thing. And it's maybe the closest match day, except for the previous match day where we had 57, 56, 55, with Yup taking that, TSM right behind, Falcons right behind that, that we've seen in a minute. So it's a great showcase of how this meta has opened up the doors for a lot of teams to be able to steal a day. And that's always very exciting, guys, as well. And Tiff, what, in terms of that option that you've seen displayed here, has been the most impactful from a legend selection? I mean, I've seen Pathfinder probably, to me, look like this was the legend that coming into this meta changed the most. But as we look at these match results, any legends stand out for you that really shifted things?
Fuse. 100% Fuse. I love the Pathfinder call out for the rotations, but Fuse and stacking 8 to 12 grenades has just been such a catalyst to the entire meta shift. And there's just not many things that you can do to combat that, which is why I feel like we've got the Watsons in play to throw the Jennies down. But the moment you break the Jenny, it's open season.
Absolutely. And I'm sure as we take a look at this top 10 Oxygen, finally having a little bit of a moment there, but might not be enough with Elevate, FURIA, Vanity, Weave rounding it out in our top 5. Going to the back half of this lobby in game 6. Vic, same thing. You agreeing with the Fuse, Pathfinder? What stood out to you the most today?
100%. It's got to be that Fuse, because when we highlighted Fuse before, when he wasn't able to scan the ring console or the survey beacon, it was talking about the 50-50s before the POI drafts and how important him and Conduit were in contesting a lot of these other teams. Now, not only with the perk system coming in and making those adjustments, Fuse is huge in trying to get information with that mother load.
Getting information is what has shifted Fuse into the meta, whether it's scanning where the ring will be or obviously with that mother load and getting scans there. It ends like this. FURIA on top in match day number 8 over the Pioneers, over SSG, over Disguised, who, you know, we'll be thinking, could we have just figured something out? Will these points come back to haunt them? Who knows? Still, obviously, a 4th place, highest overall placement of Split 2. Elevate as well, 47 points. Falcons in 45th, a rare 6th place for them. This is the lowest showing that we have seen from Falcons thus far. I know they don't want to make a habit of it, but they're already going to Germany. So in that way, Tiff, it's kind of okay that they take a little bit of a break.
I was thinking that also. I was like, this is a bit uncharacteristic from Falcons in general, but hey, a 6th place, that is your worst place finish over the course of a Split 2 regular season. I mean, look, I'll take it.
Yeah, and as we go back over these last 3 games, we said there might be some switches. Certainly was. There were teams that really started to pop off. We thought, okay, Design, DSG, where are they? Well, then they showed up and through the fire and the flames. I said it in EMEA, I feel like it's just appropriate. They went through the gauntlet to get to a position like this. And even now against Flat, feel like, well, look at this. They go to peak, boom, 100 damage. Well, okay, are we going to push that? But it's the indecision from Mamba, or actually what it is, it's that Seer Q that shuts down a push. He's silenced. He doesn't have anything. And I think he says, you know what, maybe we should back it off. And this really is the turning point. Design, pick this up. DSG, excuse me, pick this up. They rotate, keep that high ground. And then, of course, it's just an easy 2v2 at the end of it as Flat lose out. But this was just the beginning. We kind of started to see DSG show up. They would finish with just about the same amount of points, only maybe 3 more than they got here. But this was a great start and gave them a lot of confidence heading in. Their season's not quite over. They do play tomorrow. But Tiff, walk us through game 5.
Yeah, this is that zone that shored up right on the outskirts of Mirage et Trois. Cloud9 had held the high ground alongside Yup before FURIA had prior sent them. This took all the attention off of Yup, and Dupe with that G7 scout on the high ground, just keeping everyone in their line of sight. You got Prodigy Aces and Oblivion on the low ground, watching that zip to make sure that SSG didn't pop up and really come through here. You see the exhibit come out and they just kind of play it conservative, but they do all of the right things to take all the pressure away and don't let anyone push them. SSG kind of wraps around straight towards FURIA, and this kind of allows you, so long as Oblivion stays up here, I'm like, okay, this is how you convert it to win. Then you bring it to the final 2 and you do everything that you need to keep that attention on to FURIA, who got pretty much eviscerated by SSG, and it was just pretty much clean up crew from there.
Then, of course, in game 6, things would shift again. We just saw it. The action, it's worth running it back one more time, Vic, because it was close till the very end.
Yeah, this was a really intense final circle because there's a lot of areas to coexist with the buildings in Frag East. And in this moment, we were so fixated on the team that's right in front of them. They knew that their backs was already closed in from the circle. They weren't going to wrap around because then they just would have been free pickings. But the heartbeat sensor, they know that they can inch forward, but wait for the other squads on the other side of this building with 5 squads left in this final circle. And then getting stuck with an Arc Star for a week. So he just jumps and hopes that maybe the Arc Star could also act as some friendly fire.
And that is what you're hoping for here. FURIA They need just a few more points, probably to feel comfy. But once SSG goes down, once KCP falls, I think they just realize it's a foregone conclusion. They don't get the overall win, but they do obviously find the overall win in the day, not in this game. And now we look to our overall standings as well. Again, a huge showcase for this. We're looking to see who might qualify. We're looking to see, did they do enough? Who did enough to maybe secure a spot? Split 2, it is right around the corner. That's the funny thing about this. It feels like we just took a week off, and now we only have 2 weeks, and then suddenly it's Split 2 playoffs coming up. It's so crazy how time flies, Tiff, but that's kind of the beauty of it as well. You know, you've got chances here in a very quick instant to change your fate. One of these teams might have just done that by clinching a spot at LAN. Let's go ahead and find it out. It is SSG who will be joining Team Falcons in Germany, occupying 2 now of those total 12 spots available for North America. Now, FURIA, Liquid Alienware, LG, TSM, Pioneers, Bleed Esports, NRG, and Complexity currently holding the top 10 spots. But as we go to that next page, there's those top 2, 11 and 12, that will still be available to Cloud9 and Elevate right now. So, Vicky, this is interesting. Elevate, as of now, have done enough. Will it be enough, though, to send them through? They'll still have a couple of match days to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, they are in that 12 spot, and there's only 12 spots from NA to make it into Split 2 LAN. So still, you want a little bit more wiggle room with when you're a point difference away from the likes of C9, but still incredibly tight to see the teams that needed to perform from Group A, their last group performance before tomorrow, we get to send it off with Groups B and C.
It's just a great showcase here as well, and things starting to get very real. Again, you will see these teams compete, certainly put themselves with a chance to be in the regional finals, maybe even something better there if they get a chance to get in. But it is really going to be do or die tomorrow, because if they can't get top 20, then that is it, season wrap. So they will not be going. So a lot of pressure there still for that storyline for us to follow along. More Apex action coming up very soon, but right now we've got to give a nod to our high performers of the day. The MVP for Match Day 8 in North America. To me, this one, it was close, but I had to give it to somebody who faced trials and tribulations, not just in game, but outside of game as well. FURIA and Keon got the job done. They didn't have the right setup, had to go to a new location, internet wasn't working, just dealt with some struggles and still stayed focused. I don't know if it helped, I don't know if it hurt, but at the end of the day, overcoming obstacles that are just is just what you need to do to be successful in life. And again, whether it is in game or whether it's outside of it, being able to do that, lead your team to victory alongside Vaxlon and Madness, and also be the top damage dealer of the day, as well as one of the top kill leaders. This is just an MVP level performance. 10 kills, 11 assists, top damage dealer. Man was a menace. MVP goes to Keon today. Congratulations, and well deserved. Tiff, I love stories like that. Just give us the opportunity to highlight somebody who, doesn't make excuses and just gets the job done.
That's the way to do it. And honestly, I think it was their first overall match day win of Split 2 regular season.
Well, I just got some news. I'm surprised. I thought, the setup wasn't right. We obviously love talking to winners and MVPs. Well, I guess Keon is here with us and he's figured it out. Keon, what is up, man? Congratulations on a big win. We heard it's been a crazy day for you, but you guys got the dub.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's been definitely a day, dude. Just an hour before ALGS, my internet just kicked off and they said it was like a scheduled outage till like 8 p.m. Oh, man. I literally grabbed my controller. I called my brother. I was like, hey, dude, are you home? I need you to install Apex. He's like, all right, come over. I got you, bro. So I'm not a mess. This is not my room. This is my brother.
So you blame it on the brother, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, maybe the messy room is a secret, dude. We won. So.
Well, that's to me what I wanted to ask you first, because you were top damage dealer in the lobby. You guys won the day, and yet you have probably in a online internet competition the worst thing that could happen: your internet goes out. So what was it about today that just worked? Was it the mentality? Did some of this somehow actually make it easier to just focus on playing since you couldn't control all the real life stuff? I mean, talk to me what was going on in your head and why things worked out for you guys to take the win today.
Well, I mean, leading all the way up to it, like this whole week, the last 2 weeks of scrims has been like, a little rough, but we've been figuring it out. We've been finding our identity after like the changes and like swapping the comps. We used to love the lifeline, and we swapped to the Pathfinder pick. But yeah, my teammates played insane, and we've been like really like clicking recently, like these last 2 weeks. And then also like today, yeah, man, like I think the difference between like other days and today is that like I have time to think about it. Today it was like I got to drive like 40 minutes and get my stuff set up really fast and get it downloaded. So it's like I didn't have time to overthink things. And so honestly, I think that's what made the difference, is that like I just like I had to literally pull up to work, shoes on, ready to go.
Hey, well, it paid off. So congratulations on your match day win. Now, look, you kind of talked about something that I was going to ask you about, because we have all this diversity in terms of the legend compositions, and you're locking in Pathfinder and you're looking pretty good on it. Do you feel like with Pathfinder kind of coming back into now I'm not going to call it meta, it's still a niche pick, but do you think that opens you up a lot more to make plays alongside your team?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I've been playing like in competitive, I've only ever played the anchor character and the anchor role with like playing Watson, Caustic, and Lifeline. So having a character that gives a controller player a movement, like, I mean, that's why like Horizon was so good, in my opinion, for controller players. But yeah, like it definitely, I feel like it unleashes me, but also it just like, it makes me able to like help my teammates more, because like I'm not afraid to take those risky angles and all those risky childs that, I would be more worried about if I was playing Catalyst.
That's really interesting to hear, like, especially knowing now the flexibility that Pathfinder brings. Let's be honest, Pathfinder's OG too. So if you feel yourself like fragging out, you get to now get that grapple reset. But today was Dia de Furia, and you were able to come out on top with you highlighting the way that your teams played today. Do you want to give a little bit of insight to how that midseason patch has impacted you guys coming out of scrims not being so great, but yet you turn things around on a day that actually matters when the tournament begins?
Yeah, I mean, coming out of the midseason patch, like we just didn't really know what was going to happen. We tried Fuse before, and like it just didn't fit me. Like I couldn't play the Fuse role very well. Obviously, controller, no dead zone, a little bit of state drift. Like I'm messing up the angles of the Qs. But then like when we just kind of decided to like, oh, we can just drop like Seer on Stormpoint, and like I get to play double path on both maps, and then like it allows Madness to do literally like, he gets to play the ability legend, so he knows exactly where he wants things, and it just unlocks him. And then Vax is just the best bang in the world right now. I don't know. He's just cooking. He's happy to be here, just smoking for us and getting angles, getting kills. Yeah, I mean, we just had like a little rough patch, like after Menace's surgery and all that, dude. We've been fighting through it over here at FURIA, I guess. Power outages. It wasn't just Madness's knee, it was Vax's power. I moved all of his setup to my place that then just had an outage, so I had to leave my place and come here. Like, oh man, we've been fighting everything outside of the game, not even the game.
Well, what's interesting about a situation like that is sometimes, not every time, that tends to bring a team together under these circumstances. And it feels like it's worked out for you all to galvanize and work together to be better. And I think that's a great sign today. You looked phenomenal. I kind of want to leave it on this. Heading into, you play tomorrow. Obviously we're looking forward towards LAN. What's the story here? I mean, is there a redemption arc for you guys? Is there something to prove? I feel like a chip on your shoulder. I mean, what is it going into it? Because you're a team that we're really paying attention to right now.
Yeah, I mean, we are top 3 in the world, I think, like especially in North America. Yes, like Falcons, obviously, like they have all the accomplishments. They have like the stack team, right? SSG is a brand new stack team, like quote unquote super teams. But like I think we're just super under the radar for, if you look at like the consistency sake for like scrims in general overall, minus just like the little rough set that we had, we're literally like like just small points percentages behind those two teams. So like, yeah, we've got a chip on our shoulders, dude. Like we didn't even make grand finals this last LAN, and a lot of it was also on like my fault. Like I threw a lot of our qual games, and like, so I mean, I have a chip on my shoulder, and like we all want to win, and we all know that we have like the championship potential. And like, you know, we're trying to get rid of that classic FURIA second. You know, we're trying to play for the win. So heck yeah, we've got chips on our shoulders, and we're just trying to show you guys what we can do.
I love it, man. Well, congratulations. You guys played phenomenally. Congrats on the MVP, handling all of these obstacles and still coming out with the dub.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, first MVP. Gotta love it.
All right. Keon of FURIA, they win the day. He wins the MVP. And we'll be seeing more of him for sure. They're looking like one of the favorites heading into it. And I'm excited. I know FURIA fans around the world. Vicky said it best. Dia de FURIA. Certainly it was today in North America. Okay, guys, looking to wrap it up. Tiff, it's been a great day so far. EMEA, North America, we've seen legend changes, so many things. What are your final thoughts as we look to close the show here for our match day 8?
Honestly, it's so refreshing to hear from Keon and FURIA with that chip on their shoulder. Final thoughts for me, man. I just cannot wait to see what that regional final is going to look like. But for Groups B and even Group C that played out today, if you're not in contention to land yourself into regional finals, you have to set your heart ablaze and give it your all tomorrow.
Set your heart ablaze. I mean, what? That's that's an Attack on Titan. Is that what it is? That's AOT? No, what is that? What?
It's a Demon Slayer.
Is that Demon Slayer? Okay, I don't know. I missed it. Vic, I want to make sure. Do you get a chance for some final thoughts?
Yes, I do actually. Maybe from like Kaiju number 8 that I know that Tiff is definitely backing up out here, but feeling that you gotta feel the tide and armor coming in too, because right now Group A done and dusted. We now see where these teams have situated themselves in, but with one more day for North America to settle who is in the top 20 for this regional final, it's going to be everything, because yes, we've seen a lot of these teams, they have no issue getting the KP that they need. The question comes, how consistent are these squads in taking the win? It isn't even getting top 3, it's about getting the dub. And now with regional finals around the corner, we got to welcome another team to join the rest of the 12 squads that will be making over to split to land from North America.
It starts to feel real, doesn't it? You start to see some teams punching their tickets, and everyone else wants to be a part of that list. Well, thank you so much, Tiff, and thank you again, Vicky, as well. What a great show it's been. It's always awesome working with you, too. I'll see you very, very soon. As we look to wrap up today, ladies and gentlemen, it just means that there's more on the horizon. And I would say tomorrow, but I want to let you know that tonight, APAC South begins their regional final at midnight Pacific time or 3 a.m. Eastern time. You know, I don't know if you're up at 3 a.m., you either didn't go to bed or you're like doing 75 hard and you're that guy who wakes up at 4 a.m. and you know, runs for an hour and a half. I don't know any of these people. I see them online. Maybe that's you, though. And you can obviously catch that right when it starts. But of course, after that, we'll be having our match day 9 here in EMEA. We'll do North America as well. Group A done and dusted, but B and C, they have still got more action incoming. So stay tuned for all of that as well. I want to give a huge shout out to everyone behind the scenes who put this together. Esports Engine, EA, and Apex Legends as a game. In the meantime, why don't you go play it? A lot of break time, get some legend practice, check out some perks, and make sure to stay connected. We go live tomorrow for match day 9. It's going to be a fun one. And thank again to Tiff, to Vicky, and to every one of you who's been watching today. My name is Rainday, and as always, remember to never give up, never stop gaming. We'll see you all tomorrow.
Yeah. Hall of Famer, how did you not know? Championship, about to win a Super Bowl. Fans in the stand, love it when I'm in the dome. Touchdown dance, celebrating cause I'm home. Cleats on my feet, running routes all day. Shotgun, Wildcat, I know all the play. Could've been a quarterback, just put me in the game. I was born a champion and I just want the ring. MVP, I'm the best on the list. You can join the team cause we headed to the ship. Hey, you looking at a champ. Hey, you looking at a champ. You looking at a champ. You looking at a champ. Hey, all I do is win. All I do is win. You looking at a champ and we going to the ship. We going to the ship. We going to the ship, hey, all we do is win. You looking at a champ. You looking at a champ, hey, all I do is
You're
win.
looking at a CHAMP. Every time I do it, make it look easy. Better be prepared when you come for me. Don't talk me to death, you know that stuff cheap. I go hard on the west, I go hard on the east. It don't really matter either way, I'ma eat. You know I do numbers, 1, 2, 3, count on me like work easy. I can do it in my sleep. I do not know defeat. Championship rings on my hand, go bling in games when I please. Good night, RIP. Ain't no OT. You are not a champ, boy. You all wanna be.
Looking at a champ. You looking at a champ. You looking at a champ, hey, all I do is win. All I do is win. You looking at a champ, and we going to the ship. We going to the ship. We going to the ship, hey, all we do is win. You looking at a champ. You looking at a champ, hey, all I do is win.
Everything. So we thought it might be an even match here, but I don't think so. It's a furious performance from FURIA, and it looks like with that KP, it'll make it a 2v2. SSG has to pull a rabbit out of the hat, and it could just be Zainu doing it. He gets one. Oh, but FURIA clutches up, and they seal the deal in a deliciously deadly 2v2 to win it all.